on, breaker one. This is Short Pants Free Radio. Gamers, get your ears on because we're blowing the speakers out.
Grimdark Live. It is time for Grimdark Live. This show is for the nerds, the outcasts, the weirdos.
And for short pants gamers?
No, not you.
Ah, crap.
Get ready, all you Grimdark goons, for dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf. Only right here on Grimdark Live.
Let's get the effing show started.
Hey, welcome to Grimdark Live, your weekly webcast for all things Dice, Dragons, Demons, and a Dwarf in the Warhammer worlds. I'm your host, Patrick, and you know what? We got another solo show today. But this is going to be another abridged show, as we're going to be back live again next week for a full show. So I just wanted to catch up with you guys coming off of Armed Forces Day 3, which we had this past Saturday, which was a fantastic turnout, a fantastic tournament for a great cause. And kind of go through some of the news and some of the other things that are kind of current. And then we've got a great look-back segment for all you guys that I think you're really going to enjoy. This is a little bit more of a comical show that we did last year where everybody was really worried about Randy, the nicest guy in tabletop wargaming. So we got that coming up. And so there's going to be some video to it. It's mostly going to be audio, so grab those models you want to paint and listen to a great show. But there is, like I said, there is some video to it as well. So yeah, so that's what's happening for this week's show. But next week we are going to be back live for a full show, for the full Grimdark Live experience. So just wanted to really reiterate, and we're going to get into this a little bit more in the news, that I really appreciate everything that everyone has done to help out with Armed Forces Day 3 and make it a very successful tournament. But you know what? We'll be right back with more on that coming up in the news for the show. Hey, you Grimdark goons. Thank you so much for joining us for another Grimdark Live show. But hey, if you're new to the Grimdark Live experience and new to our YouTube channel, please click on the subscribe button. That's the Grimdark Skull bell icon for reminders on all of our upcoming and past shows. And please remember to click on the like button. This helps our show and gets us better promoted on YouTube for the Grimdark Live experience. So please recommend us to your friends. Grimdark Live is a great show to get your nerd on every Thursday. And if you like some after-ear action, give our podcast a listen after the live show. We typically publish that a few days after the live show. Please follow our podcast. There's a lot of additional segments there that you're not going to get here on the live show. The link to our podcast is in the show notes below. And if that ain't enough for you, check out our website at www.grimdarklive.com. Again, that's grimdarklive.com. All right, now let's get to the show. All right, we are back. We got the news coming up, and we are going to get into it. There's actually a pretty good amount of news that's happening in the world of Warhammer. So starting it off, we got the rumor engine that we're going to be getting into right now, and it's funny because this looks to me like a orc type of shoulder skull to me. I think there was another rumor engine recently that hinted towards new Iron Jaws. I think we talked about it on the show, but I don't quite remember that off the top of my head, but I think we did. It seems like we did. But it also looks similar to the skull on the shoulder of, say, a mega boss. That's kind of why I'm thinking it could be something destruction related, which would be kind of surprising considering the last rumor engines and things like that have kind of hinted more towards vampires, death. It does remind me of the Varangard horse, the Chaos Varangard horse a little bit. Could be a close-up of something like that, or Chaos belly maw, like kind of a Nurgle thing, kind of a mutation. Most of the monster designs of other armies have either lips or scales, and this really has neither, so it could be something more chaos. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Leave it in the comment section down below and let me know what you think about that. But moving on in the news, we have Blood Bowl back in the news. I know we talked about this a little bit last week as well, but Blood Bowl second season edition, Blood Bowl 2020, and I got to tell you, I really love how much the character, the character that this new game has, the miniatures especially. I'm going to reiterate on that. I know that we talked about that last week as well. But it looks like Chaos Renegades can now take a thrower and a rat ogre. So I know that some of the rules have been just dropping and getting some leaks on that. And I just hope that they will release a PDF for already released star player rules, but without the models. I have or I've seen, I wanted to pick up. I shouldn't say I have it, but the Frog Mutant as well. So I'm slowly thinking about getting into Blood Bowl. Not quite sure. But recently, as I was saying before, there's been a series of leaks of rules for this season that look to be pretty great. One off the top of my head is there's the leap. The leap rule has been leaked, and I guess there's a pretty big change with that as well. I guess everyone can leap over a prone or a stunned player. I guess jumping has a cost improvement. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I was reading about that on the boards. And now you have a -1 per tackle zone at starting or arrival, whichever is greater. So I know that the leap skill reduce the some of the players' abilities. So it looks like some of the things are kind of hot and cold on this thing. I'm still trying to get into this as a brand new Blood Bowl player, but from what I've seen and heard, people are kind of excited about this. But Blood Bowl always seems to have a very positive impact on the community, and there's a very almost like a smaller percentage of the community plays it, but they're pretty rich as far as their involvement. They're very I don't want to say fanatical, but they really do like the game. But moving on in the news, we've got Underworlds is back. So this one's kind of interesting because Underworlds, there's going to be 2 new war bands on the pre-orders next week. And the pre-orders next week for these Warhammer Underworlds are going to be with 2 new rosters, dice, and cards. And it looks like we're going to be getting Orcs and Daughters. And I know that back in maybe 2 months ago or whatever it was, I know that GW was having their Saturday reveals. Because of COVID, they were having the Saturday reveals, and so I know that these were kind of hinted at that time. But yeah, it looks like we're getting Orcs and Daughters, and I get what you're thinking when I state that. This it seems like to me we've already gotten a lot of orcs already, so not really quite sure how I feel about that. I think the daughters models are pretty cool. I hope that the Age of Sigmar rules for them kind of transfer well into the game, so we'll have to see. I mean, I like the Underworlds models more for the game of Age of Sigmar than the actual game of Underworlds itself, if that makes any sense. But yeah, the last part of the news is we've got Armed Forces Day 3. We just wrapped up with that, and it's a wrap. Another successful year for Armed Forces Day tournament. Please stay tuned for more to come on Armed Forces Day 4. We're going to have more details on this tournament for the 2021 year coming up within the next few months, so please stay tuned for that. And of course, Armed Forces Day 3 wouldn't have been possible without the support of GameStorm Gaming, Frag Factory 3D Printing, Ministomp.com, and Six Squared Studios. The help of these companies and vendors is just over the top. But this past Saturday was far more than a mere tournament, which I think we were the first tournament outside of COVID, I believe, in the United States. But don't quote me on that. But I'll keep saying that until shown otherwise. I do think we were the first tournament out of COVID, which is kind of a hey, hit myself in the shoulder, pat myself on the back a little bit. That's all of us, not me, but all of us. Boy, that sounded kind of wrong, didn't it? No, but I think we were the first tournament outside of COVID, and I want to thank everybody for participating. So yeah, this past Saturday we had Armed Forces Day tournament, the first tournament since COVID-19 lockdown back on March 13th, and it was a blast. We had 26 players in attendance, masks on, everybody wore masks, hand sanitizer at every table, and we did it. I think we made the community very proud. As a matter of fact, some of the final donation numbers are coming in, and it looks like we raised over $1,000 for the USO and for prize support. 220 of that about went for prize support for the different players. Of course, we had best overall, we had best general of each Grand Alliance, best hobby and best sports, and we raised another 575 for the Montford Point Marine Association. So we're looking to expand the tournament next year and do more. So yeah, so I mean, I really can't thank the community enough for what what they did to help out this tournament. Really makes me very, very proud. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything we have in the news this week. So that's a wrap with the news. But coming up right after the break, we are going to get into a look back segment that I think you're all really going to enjoy. And then, as I said, next week we are going to be back live for our show. Stay tuned.
A public service announcement brought to you by Frag Factory 3D Printing. Many of us have thousands of dollars in miniatures, yet we play on flat tables with books and overturned Tupperware to act as our fantasy and sci-fi landscapes. We've all drooled over the tables we see in magazines lush with beautifully created terrain from all genres. The crew at Frag Factory 3D Printing want to wipe that drool from your chin and put it firmly on your friends and fellow gamers when they see your setup. Alien landscapes, desert wastelands, futuristic cities, fantasy outposts, elven forests, demonic stronghold, and so much more. Find out what you've been missing by checking us out on Facebook at Frag Factory 3D Printing or send us an email at fragfactory3dprinting@gmail.com. Bring your own files or we will help you find what you've been searching for. Take your gaming to the next level with Frag Factory 3D Printing. We print life into your games. Tell them Grimdark Live sent you, and your first hour of printing is free.
Hey gang, in all seriousness, get your terrain on the table and get it with Frag Factory 3D Printing. And remember, tell them Grimdark Live sent you and they'll give you 1 hour free. You can get them via email at fragfactory3dprinting@gmail.com or their Facebook page, Frag Factory 3D Printing.
Frag Factory 3D Printing. Printing life into your games.
Okay, coming up, we've got a great look-back show from last year. It's more of a comical show. We got some video content to it, but for the most part, it's audio. So get those models out and start painting and listen to a great look-back show. And Grimdark Live will be back live next week for a full show. So thank you guys for hanging in there with us, and we will see you again live next week. So, but let's get into this great look-back show.
Wait a minute. There's something wrong here. What is happening?
Get ready, Grimdark Goons, to time travel back in time to a Grimdark Live show segment from the past.
The past?
A segment from a show back in time. Get ready, Grimdark Goons. Here we go.
Hey, welcome to Grimdark Live, your weekly webcast for all things Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar. I'm your host, Patrick, and as always, my co-host, Sean, Gary, and not Randy. Fellas, what do you hear? What do you say?
We got LVO coming up, so I am basically waiting for news to drop, and I'll let you guys know what we got.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Gary, you got some toxic stuff you're going to be joining in with me, man.
I got to get off my chest.
Do it, man. Do it. So,
right now, we don't have that kind of. I thought you were ready to tell my segment. I'll go right now. I don't care.
Oh, well, we are going to get there, man. We are going to get there. We got a lot to go through today. And I'll tell you what, we're all kind of in a visceral mood, man. I don't know if it's the, first of the month. It's all kind of getting on us. I mean, this is going to be a good one today. We're really going to test our guests. We got a couple of good guys back with us, and one guy new and one guy back with us, and it's going to be a good time. But Gary, I'll tell you what, man. I heard I talked to your doctor. Talked to him on the phone this morning. He was telling me that the test results came in that you're actually not pregnant at all.
No, but I am still an asshole. So.
Well, thank God. Thank God. Congratulations. I
know that's going to free you up on what, $800 a month child support?
Well, God, boy, I tell you, I was a little concerned, especially because the color was off.
Oh, I know, right?
But with that, we've got the rumor engine and the question of the day. So we got a lot of good stuff we're going to be going through today on the show. But guys, as many of you heard at the top of the show, our co-host and dear friend Randy is unable to make it this evening. Often you may have heard us say many, many times that Randy is the nicest guy in tabletop gaming, but his generosity and kindness doesn't stop at the tabletop. No, it extends to his main career as a male stripper. He was famous for his stage name as the Long Dong Ranger, and it is with great concern that we here at Grimdark Live report that while he was performing his famous Idaho silver routine, he was injured.
The third cartwheel that he performed, he slipped and he fell on his stunt midget. It is with great luck that Randy survived this perilous stunt. We believe that it was the amount of glitter and whipped cream all over the stage made for unsafe twerking conditions. We were lucky to have this photo of the incident after it occurred just outside of Cupid's Warehouse Bar and Grill. And the stunt midget, however, he didn't make it. There is a funeral arrangement currently being made for, as we all affectionately knew him on a stage name, Mr. Giggleberries. Services will be held at Our Lady of the Worthless Miracle in Spanish Fork, Utah. The Mormon community is just devastated. So we really hope a speedy recovery for our great friend, Randy. Many of you knew him as Long Dong Ranger. So let's hope he makes a speedy recovery.
In case you didn't notice, he has the best front butt in the business.
I tell you what, Randy, we're all, as they say in the community, buddy, we're behind you, sweetie. All right.
It wasn't even that. His car broke down.
So
I think you're killing Steve.
So you know what? Here's the
Someone's
thing. Here's the thing. So, but if you're new to the Grimdark Live experience and new to our YouTube channel, please click on the subscribe button and the Grimdark skull icon for reminders on all of our upcoming and past shows. Grimdark Live is recorded before a live listening audience and placed on YouTube, podcasts, and further type media files for your added listening preference. And you can learn more about the Grimdark Live experience by going to our website at www.grimdarklive.com, where you can have access to all of our War Meet calendar updates, upcoming tournaments, and some other good Grimdark stuff we have to offer. But if you wanted to support Grimdark in a more personal way, then you could always head over to our website and become a gang member. By becoming a gang member, you can enter our website and enter the Nerd Bunker to become a patron of the show. We have 6 different levels of patronage, all of which help us to continue to bring you great content every week. And by selecting one of these listed patron tiers, you'll be officially enrolled as a Grimdark gang and gain access to all of the Nerd Bunker and everything that it has to offer, such as Warhammer weekend coverage, fluff and meta, new game tactics, breakfast with Grimdark, and discounts on Grimdark Live painting services, merchandise, and sponsored or supported events. Also, by becoming a Grimdark gang member and by gaining access to Grimdark Live Nerd Bunker, you'll also get Grimdark swag, qualify for an annual present from Grimdark Live, and a ton more. So become a patron and become part of the best gang on tabletop warfare, the Grimdark gang. We thank you in advance for considering your patronage to Grimdark Live. And as always, today's show is brought to you by Grognard Games. Stop in and see Todd and the gang there. You can visit them at 839 North Roselle Road, Roselle, Illinois, or get them at grognardgames.com. Buy, build, and battle at Grognard Games. All right, gang, we got through all of that and the very sad news about our friend Randy. So it's time for the show, man. Let's get this thing rolling. So we got guests. Our first of 2 guests that are here with us this evening is a new guest here with us on Grimdark Live, and that's August Klemp. August, thank you very much for joining us today, buddy. Welcome to Grimdark Live.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. So did you know Randy, or have you ever seen him perform at all?
I have not had the privilege of seeing him in action. No.
Yeah, well,
you're not missing much. Just saying.
Well, I gotta tell you, he could do the sideways bacon sandwich better than you've ever seen anybody do it. It was really something to see. So we wish him a speedy recovery. But so you're here to talk to us a little bit about your experience as a gamer in the community in both 40K and Age of Sigmar, right?
Yep.
Are those? Let me ask you a question though, before we get any further. How are those Beasts of Chaos coming along?
They're coming eventually. I'll tell you that.
Now, you play both 40K and Age of Sigmar, correct?
I play those, and I'm starting to get into Lord of the Rings as well.
You are a busy guy. So here's the thing. Out of Lord of the Rings, 40K, and Age of Sigmar, what do you prefer?
I think I've always preferred the more fantasy aspect. I do like 40K. It has its own
I'm out of here.
niche.
Gary, you okay with that, man? See, look what you did. You're already upset, Gary.
It's the same thing.
No, but I've always preferred the more historical, like fantasy aspect.
Okay, more the Lord of the Rings, or as Gary would say, the Harry Potter.
I guess one could say that.
Slinging fireballs and lightning bolts.
Yeah, lightning bolt. So, do you play any other tabletop games besides those 3?
I played Kill Team for a little bit, but I haven't played anything non-GW.
Okay. All right. Well, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up here, in the community and also in the gaming world. I mean, I think we've said a lot and many times that this is definitely probably the best time that I can recall to be a tabletop gamer. So tell us a little bit about real quickly before we introduce our second guest. Tell us a little bit about how you came into the hobby. What got you involved in this game, or both of these games, or all three of these games, I should say.
So I think it was about in 2009. My father took me to the store in Shorewood and introduced me to the game. He had known it beforehand, but didn't really play it too much. Went there and I immediately loved it. I was like, this is amazing and I want more. So I ended up getting all three of the games pretty quickly. I took the bad side of each of them, like the goblins and the orcs and all that. And I think I pretty quickly learned that I like the fantasy more.
Okay.
So I rode with that. Once the Shorewood store closed, I went to the bunker, and I think that's where I met Steve and a couple other guys that I knew, and they really helped me become more involved with the hobby. So, and I would say more competitive, I guess, like making better armies, actually getting stuff painted, learning better tactics, and stuff like that.
Okay, so how long ago was that you went there, and actually when you met Steve for the first time? So roughly how long ago was that?
I would say it was 2013-ish.
Okay, so that was about the time his restraining order was lifted. So
makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that does make sense. So speaking of that, our second guest is a returning contributor here with us this evening here on Grimdark Live, and that's the iron-jawed rat bastard himself, Steve. Steve, buddy, good to have you back, bro. How you been?
You are the most demented man I have ever met in my life.
You can't say that about Gary. Why would you say that?
It's close, but you're
going Gary, have they found him yet? Is the medication working?
No, he's still walking around the library.
I don't have any idea
have to say, Pat, that your opening is you're just deplorable. You're just
what are you talking about? I mean, here's the thing. No, I don't think. Look at this. Look at poor Randy there, laid out like that. I mean, I don't know why you'd say that.
Car trouble. He needs a new car. He's car shopping.
Is that what they call that move now? I thought it was the triple Lindy. I don't know what.
Car shopping for an ambulance?
No, the triple Lindy is a very hard dive that only one person can actually execute.
Well, he took a hard dive. There was a lot of whipped cream on that stage.
Pat, do you think you're going to enjoy prison?
These are things, here's
he will, but nobody else will.
Randy, here's the thing. If you're listening out there, I'm trying to defend you, and I'm so sorry about your stunt midget. He was a cute little bastard. At any rate, so Steve, before you
in the world,
you could stop insulting me now. So you're here to talk to us about Skaven as well as insulting us a little bit, yeah?
Yeah, we're here to talk Skaven.
That's it, and also on that, you're going to be chiming in on a little. You know what? I'm gonna wait before I get onto this. I have to step back here a little bit and give Gary a little props. Because hold on.
Be very careful.
Here's the thing. If you guys remember, back in late October in one of our shows, I have it written up here in a post-it here, where we decided, and Steve, we decided what we thought was going to be the number one army in 2019 for fantasy.
Oh,
and Steve, you remember you picked High Elves or some variation of that. Right?
I did.
Sean,
and I still stand by it.
Yeah, Sean, you and I picked Slaanesh, right? Randy, here, I got to show everyone that picture again. That's just so sad. He's laid up there. I'm going to just Randy.
Randy, we thoroughly apologize to you wherever you are.
Randy, he picked Git mobs, and I know why he did it too. They're small, just like his stunt midget. And Gary, I got to tip my hat to you, man. You asked what are Skaven? That was your pick for the best army in 2019. And you want to know something? I think you're going to be right, bud. I really honestly think you're going to be right. I think that's going to be the one that is going to overtake the Nagash curse that's been on this freaking hobby for almost 2 years. Steve, would you agree with that?
Variations of the army, yes, I would. the Scryer build, even the Scryer build that you can do right now is quite capable of wiping him off the table by turn 2. But we'll talk a little bit about it more as we move on here.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're also here to talk to us a little bit about the topic of tournament scoring. I know that Sean and of course Gary. He's probably got more experience TOing games than any of us combined. But I mean, Sean, you're even going to chime in on some of the tournament scoring bitching that's been happening out there, right? Some of the
Sure.
And I know that it's always the same thing. Did I just surprise you there? Welcome to the show.
Like, what are you doing?
Who are you people?
What's going on?
Only if August could figure out what the hell is going on. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about tournament scoring and that old topic of composite scoring versus straight tally scores. Good stuff, good stuff. So Steve, how you been, bud? I kind of interrupted you on that question before, or actually you insulted me. That's how it was. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not done. We have a whole show.
Yeah, there's a whole bucket full of insults we started getting.
As a matter of fact, Gary and I are thinking of tag teaming on you tonight.
It'll be a triple threat match.
There we go. Yeah, I'm used to that. But you've been waiting all night to say that to me.
Hey, you opened that door. I don't know what to tell you. So.
That's it. So here's the thing. Steve, it's I want to say this to you directly, Steve. It's just if we were sitting next to each other. So here's the thing. It's a little cold outside, to be running around without any clothes on. And I presume with the news of the Skaven release, you've been joyously nude since the announcement. Am I right or wrong on that one?
Yeah, you would be wrong. To tell you the truth, I'm and I have to be honest about it. I'm really not that impressed with what I've seen so far. I think the Skaven are getting the Beastman treatment. I've looked at the endless spells and I'm not impressed. I don't see anything there that is earth-shattering. But the Skaven really don't need a lot of models. They had basically a new line that came out. I think it was back in 2009, 2010, somewhere in there, when they released the new Skaven models.
Well, the end times. They came out with end times.
But yeah. I mean, you don't need to redo Storm Fiends. You don't need to redo any of the War Machines. Everything is fine. The Clan Rats are fine. The Storm Vermin are fine. The only thing that army really needs updating are the metal models. And there's only a few of them anyways. And the ones that they don't want, they're phasing out. So in my opinion, I think the Skaven is already a tough army. It's already a strong army. But I think this is going to help people create those lists that they've wanted to make since 8th edition.
All right, that's an interesting perspective. I would have thought differently coming from you.
No, because I have to be honest about them as an army. I don't think that they're going to be the earth-shattering army that everyone thinks they're going to be. I think they're going to be great at shooting. If you take a Scryer list, absolutely. I mean, Storm Fiends, Warp Cannons, Jezzails, give me a break. I mean, any big monster, you're dead.
All right.
But you still have to be able to, fight the rest of their army, which, Skaven is quite capable of doing.
Of course. August, what say you on the Skaven, bud?
I would agree with what Steve says. They're already one of the more complete armies out there. If you look at stuff like even my Flesh Eater courts, it's a very limited number of units, whereas Skaven have whole ranges of these different factions to choose from. So they really didn't need anything else. No. Just a unified, bring them together.
And I'm going to tell you the list that the army you better watch out for is this new Flesh Eater courts. I think people are truly overlooking them.
I am. I can say that I am right now.
Well, I'll tell you, when you have the ability to take zombie dragon lords as your battle line, we've just opened up a whole new world.
Well, that's a really good point. And, and I kind of wanted to focus this show a little more towards the Skaven this week and really get more into the Flesh Eaters next week. But, the interesting thing about it is, I got to tell you, I'm a little put back on my heels. I mean, I'm going to throw this over to Gary. Do you remember, Gary? How did you come up with the Skaven back in late October, man? What was the thought on that? Do you know?
Well, I don't know how it is on the AOS side of it, but in 40K, Horde armies do very well, but not many people play them because it's a task to play them. And when I look at AOS and I think which one would be the best Horde army, it was Skaven. And I really didn't see much of any other one. Granted, that's due to lack of knowledge. I know there's one out there you can put a ton of skeletons, whatever the case may be, but I just pictured that being a very pain in the behind to deal with on the table.
Well, hordes are the same in Age of Sigmar, especially in some armies where you can keep bringing those skeletons back. But Skaven have always been that army, and we're going to get into this here a little bit towards the middle of the show here. But Skaven have always been that army that whenever you think you have them beat, those little bastards can come out of nowhere and take the game right from you.
Yes, they were known for that.
And my belief right now, and Sean, I'm going to ask you the same thing here in a second, but my whole belief right now is I think this is going to be the Legions of Nagash killer army right here. This is going to be, I still see it that way. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have thought that Flesh Eater Courts was going to be the new Beastman, Beast of Chaos ilk type of book, where maybe they would have to take oddball units like, say the Zangors, when you have to bring them in to a Beastman unit to really make it a stronger list. Maybe something in Death they would have to bring in, but that's just really interesting. I did not expect this to go in that direction. This is actually kind of cool. Sean, what say you on this, man? What are Skaven? Are they good or are they a dud?
I don't know. Well, I think they're good now. They just need some good allegiance abilities and the ability to actually allow them to play by themselves. Because, I mean, all right, you got the Scryer list, which is basically, nothing but pure shooting. Obviously, it's nothing but the huge rats that shoot guns. Huge rat ogres. Yep, Storm Fiends. And then you got you'll see some parts of the Plague, like in like a Nurgle army, just because you'll see Plague monks in a Nurgle list, just so that they can put Blades of Petrification on them. So for every 6, it'll pop a mortal wound. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping there will be a little more. They'll come out with some stuff to give each faction. So like with the Beastmen, you'll have the different the Great Phrase. With Skaven, you'll have the clans.
Yeah, so they've already announced that, Sean. Actually, it's that's exactly what they're doing.
Yep. Isn't there like 10? There's like 6, and then or there's like 4 traits, and then each one has like 6 or something like that. I can't remember all the details.
Yeah, there's 4 of the main clans. You have Verminous, Pestilence, Scryer, and Molder. Pardon me. And then basically each one of those clans is getting their own like command abilities and command traits. So the army that I used to play years ago, Sean, the one that you came to know and love, that army is basically going to be happening again, except on a much more deadlier scale. What Skaven always needed to make them the army that they've always been is a union of the clans. They never should have separated the clans. Now that they've fixed that, this army's right back where it needs to be. And it will be the Nagash killer. I will put my money on it. And for anyone out there who plays Nagash, I guarantee you he will be dead by turn 2.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, but let's go back to that Saber thing, because that's kind of where I was leaning in the beginning of the game here, and we're really going to get into this later. Maybe we're jumping the gun here, but okay, I'll tell you what. Let's save that. Because your point right there is kind of was sharing what my original sentiment was, but now we're kind of saying in the beginning, well, they're going to be kind of Beastman like, but yet maybe they're not going to be as strong as I thought.
Well, maybe I didn't make myself clear with that. When I say Beastman like, in other words, there's not going to be anything really new model-wise. In other words, we're not going to get a whole plethora of new units to buy and build. We're basically keeping the same line that we've had, but the same line that we've had is outstanding. So there's really no reason to create anything other than maybe like new gutter runners or new Jezzails because they're metal. But no, my point was not that they were going to be a dud. My point was that the book itself is basically going to be the focal point of the release, not so much models, because they don't need.
I got you.
They've already got them.
So speaking of new units, August. Let's kind of touch here a little bit. Let's do an early touch on the on the Flesh Eater Courts. I mean, what can you tell us? What do you know, or what can you tell us a little bit about the Flesh Eater Courts, and what do you think is going to make them good, bad, or ugly? Well, they're already ugly, but what's going to make them better than I think they are?
Well, like Steve was talking about, the ability to take zombie dragons or Terrorgeist as battle line is huge, and I really think that's the way that I want to go with it, because I have a couple of Terrorgeist, and I think that would be amazing to run a list like that.
And that's still somewhat of a horde army, right? I mean, you could take. There's a lot you can do there as far as having some big beasties like that, backing up those horde armies. So, do you obviously already have a Flesh Eater Courts army?
Yeah, so I do have a little bit. I probably have about 2,000 points. And you're right, you have options. You could go lots of the ghouls and go horde-ish. You could go kind of mid-level infantry with the crypt horrors or the flayers. And then you have the big dragons. So you really have options, which I think is key for any army.
Yeah, I kind of hope that they kind of take care of the Flesh Eater Courts a little bit better than they did when their last battle tome came out in mid 2016. Because I always thought that as an army, their battalions were pretty damn good, but their units weren't that good. It's almost like if you're going to pay all those points for the battalions, you needed a unit that could kind of back it up a little bit. I've always thought that the Abhorrent Ghoul King on a zombie dragon was a little lackluster. I almost thought he was a better model or a better unit to take when he wasn't on the dragon. Didn't really see too many Vargolf courtiers on the table, but Cryptghast courtiers were always a beast. But the Crypt Ghouls, I thought, were the unsung heroes, and those were the ones you always saw in the in horde armies, I guess. Crypt Flayers were kind of like a should have been, but the Crypt Horrors were what I saw most of. But let me ask you a question: do you think there's going to be any new units, or have you heard about any new units in Flesh Eater Courts?
I don't know about any new units. I don't think they need it. I think that they just needed to revamp the army and bring it into the second edition, because they were one of those armies, like, armies that got early books like Seraphon or
Iron Jaws,
Iron Jaws, that suffered from being an older
Beastclaw
book.
Raiders. Yeah, very good. I mean, Sean, what say you, man? What do you think? What do you think of the what's going to happen with the early quick little snippet here into the Flesh Eater Courts?
I don't know why you keep calling them a horde army. I play nothing but Terrorgeist and zombie dragons. I mean, I don't know why you would play anything but I guess you need to hold objectives.
You did say horde, right?
Sure. Let's go with that.
Right, got it.
No.
What? Hey, I'm hard of hearing. Gary,
moving on.
What about you, buddy? I mean, anything to add on this one?
No, not from that. It's difficult because I need to play more to understand more to give a solid opinion on the outside of it. But if you're talking about tweaks and changes, I think just about every army can have tweaks and changes to it to make it more balanced or make it better. So.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, we are definitely going to be touching on the Flesh Eater Courts next week for sure, with that release coming out, and we're going to be getting heavier into the Skaven, and we've got a couple of guys here, especially the rat bastard himself, Steve, that are going to be able to really kind of get talking about those things. But here we are. Generally at this point in the show, usually it's the first show of the month. We kind of take a look back at the White Dwarf from a year earlier. So. Today we are going to be looking at the White Dwarf from February of 2018, and this was a pretty good issue. This one actually almost got me into playing the Custodes. I mean, this one was kind of good.
Wait! You mean collecting Custodes?
Damn it, Gary! I mean, unbelievable!
Unbelievable! Believe it.
Oh, all right. Let me pick myself off. See what they do to me, August. You see this crap? Every show they beat the hell out of me like this.
Only if you would actually play a game, we wouldn't have to do this to you.
Correct.
Ouch.
Well,
parties with your night. I'll tell you.
White Dwarf, February 2018. So this was a pretty good issue. I mean, this thing was mainly on Malign Portents and Adeptus Custodes, and it had designer's notes for both. It had a really good interview with Phil Kelly. I don't know if you guys know who that is. He's a pretty contributing guy on rules for both Age of Sigmar and 40K. It also got into some pretty cool giveaways. You know, they had a chat book from Black Library that came with it. They had cards from the heroes of the Black Reach board game. And they had a downloadable code giving you free access to 3 missions from the new Warhammer 40K, or at that time, the new Warhammer 40K Inquisitor Martyr computer game. So the issue mainly talked on malign portents and Adeptus Custodes, like I said before. And the interesting thing about this one was it really kind of talked about in both areas a lot of background and depth, and it was if you really want to kind of get an idea of what the sentiment was with malign portents or the Adeptus Custodes, I would definitely recommend this as a reference if you read it at one time and forgot about it. You know, this article has some Adeptus Custodes in action in that month's battle report. Where they took on Necrons, and that was Gary. What do you think about that one? If you take a guess at who wins that one?
Well, Necrons are involved. It's not them. So
yeah, exactly.
They're not good.
There is the third part of this thing is a new adventure for Warhammer Quest: Shadows over Hammerhall, which next month we're going to be talking about an army that came out of that Chris Peach had developed, which it's probably one of my all-time favorite, of my top 3 White Dwarfs that ever came out. It was a fantastic army layout for his Age of Sigmar army. But they had stuff in there too for Blood Bowl match report, and the second part of the Search for the Stone narrative campaign for the Middle Earth battle companies. There was a brand new Necromunda scenario. The tactics for 1,000 Suns. What else? There were Realm of Battles and paint splatter for the new Orlok gang. So that's the February 2018 White Dwarf. Check it out a year ago, but it's interesting to see like where the hobby has come, because you know in this February is a big gold Stormcast on the cover, and a year ago was a big gold Custodes on the cover. So the February is a gold month, so good stuff. But yeah, so that was a year ago. Our look back at the White Dwarf from a year ago that we do at the top of every show, the first of the month. So, all right, guys, lead topic here it is: Skaven incoming. So let's definitely get into this. I mean, we know that Skaven are that army, right? I mean, and again, notwithstanding Flesh Eater Court release, they're both, the pre-release is dropping this Saturday for both of them. This week, we're going to specifically just talk on Skaven, and we're going to be getting into Flesh Eater Courts next week. So, again, as you kind of heard, if you're just joining us, we've got Rat Bastard himself, Iron Jaw Steve, with us, and August Klemp here to talk to us about Skaven and some other good community hobby topics throughout the show. But you know, if you were listening early on, you might have heard me bring up that I felt Skaven are going to be in the fantasy world that #1 army that is going to basically give us a little bit of reprieve, you know, maybe circumplant the legions of Nagash from that first place that they've held for almost 2 years now, and it'd be a real nice break to get away from those bony bastards. So as I said, we've got one of the oldest rat bastards here to talk on these rabid rodents. So let's get into this. Steve, you and every other Skaven player, all of your prayers to the great horned rat have literally been answered, and then the Skaven are finally getting their battle tome of their own. So, Steve, give us a little background here, and then August, I'm going to kind of pitch the ball to you here in a second. So, Steve, who are the Skaven?
Well, the Skaven are pretty much one of the most malevolent races in the world of Warhammer. They have been behind every major story going all the way back into the 4th, 5th edition of Warhammer. They're behind it all. They have saved the world, ironically, on more occasions than they are given credit for. And it's kind of funny, right? Because we always look at the Skaven as being, the great evil race that's trying to destroy the world. But in many ways, they've saved the world on occasions, accidentally, of course. But if you go back to the history, like, you know how much I love Nagash. If you go back through the history of Nagash, every time Nagash has tried to accomplish something, the Skaven have stopped him. They have screwed him over in some way. Isn't it some way, and you got to take me back into the history of the old rank and flank, the old world as it was known. Yes. August, I don't know how familiar you are. How familiar are you with the previous adorations of fantasy in the Warhammer world?
back then I wasn't a huge like lore guy, but I do know the general stories of stuff. But Steve would be the more one to ask about this.
Oh yeah. So Steve, kind of take us a little bit back. So what is the correlation there between the Skaven and Nagash? I mean, there was kind of a storyline there. I mean,
Well,
isn't
because
somehow
Nagash is trying to wipe out the world and make it a land of the dead, one big giant land of the dead. And that, of course, is interfering with the Council of 13, the rats that actually are behind the clans. And they're not going to allow it. What I think is hilarious is that, the Horned Rat is now part of the Skaven, or excuse me, the Chaos Pantheon. Yeah, that's going to last long.
Right.
He's there for a reason. And I think that the storyline eventually is going to work its way out that the Horned Rat is not part of anything. The Horned Rat is for himself and no one else.
Right.
And his goal in the Chaos Pantheon is obviously to sow the seeds of destruction within it. The Skaven have been behind every calamity that the world of Warhammer has ever known. For instance, the most recent one, Nagash was getting ready to cast the great Necro Quake, which was going to destroy and literally rip the soul out of every living creature in the Warhammer world and make the world undead. Every world, all the realms. And who stopped him? The Skaven. Did they do it to help the world? No. But that's what makes the Skaven so funny.
Wasn't it kind of like an inadvertent mistake even on the Skaven's part? They didn't intend on doing it, but they wound up there.
Yeah, that is the humor behind the Skaven. They are always in the right place at the right time, and they always end up screwing over Nagash or some other evil lord. It's just inevitable. They're into everything. They're everywhere. You can't get rid of them. They're a race that is in the tens of millions. So they're everywhere. As a matter of fact, there was a story that in the Warhammer world that you literally could not throw a rock from any position you were standing in any of the 8 realms where the Skaven would not have a tunnel underneath the ground there. Like they are literally a stone's throw away from wherever you're standing. Whether you're out in the plains of Gur or you're in the cities where they're just innumerable.
The Under Empire, as they're known, right?
The Under Empire is truly under everything.
Yeah. So when did you actually start playing Skaven?
I loved them from the very moment that I read their story. Their story is one of the creepiest stories in Warhammer. And I'll just briefly go through it here. There was an ancient city.
Mordheim.
Not Mordheim. It was an ancient city that had a name, which I can't recall at this point in time, but it eventually becomes Skavenblight. Well, this hooded figure comes to the city, and these people are trying to finish a bell tower. This hooded figure comes to the city and says, "I'll finish the bell tower for you." And so they agree to it. And what eventually ends up happening is, and everyone assumes that this hooded figure was actually the Horned Rat incarnate. And he basically builds this tower in the middle of this big, beautiful city. And then the sky starts to turn a greenish black. The bell tolls 13 times, and the city is absolutely destroyed. The city is overrun by hordes of rats that are literally starting to get up on their feet and attack the citizens of this city. Well, this city eventually becomes what we, came to know in the old edition of Warhammer as Skavenblight. It's their capital. I just felt at the time when I read it, it was one of the creepiest stories that you could. I mean, we always have this fear of vermin. We have this fear of the bubonic plague and rats and being disease carriers.
Well, even down to the housewife standing on the chair with the mouse in the kitchen or something like that. I mean, even down to something as similar. Or Tom and Jerry. Remember whoever the maid was? You could only see her nylon legs hitting Jerry with the broom or whatever.
Well, it's because humans have always had a fear of rodents because they are the plague bringers. They are the disease carriers. And that's one of the reasons I just fell in love with Skaven, because they're such a creepy race. They're such a disturbing race. And we sit there and we look at Skaven, on the tabletop, and we're like, oh, those weedy little things. We're not afraid of them. Think of what it would be like to face an army of upright walking rats with razor sharp teeth and red eyes, and they're coming at you by the
Well, I'll
thousands.
just have to raise an army of upright walking cats.
Well, they haven't invented that army yet, Sean.
They will.
They're just a terrifying army if you think about it, because they're completely immoral. They will capture people and experiment on them. The clan Mulder literally is a Frankenstein clan of the Skaven. They will take spiders and snakes and beasts of the realms and cut them apart and put them back together with other parts. I mean, they're a monstrous, horrible race. And so naturally, they've done very well in the world of Warhammer.
Exactly. So I guess so. Okay, they're one of the strangest and most sinister, I guess, denizens in the mortal realms. They're obviously a vile race of chaos tainted rat mutants, I guess the best way to put it. I mean, but these guys are pretty, ingenious. They are cowardly and greedy, but I think their ingenuity. I think their genius is something that gets kind of laughed at almost, and is like a comical thing. But they really
well,
have
you're talking about a race that literally built a rocket that was so powerful that it shot up into the sky in the end times and blew up Morsley, the moon. It literally blew up the moon above the Warhammer world. I mean, we're talking about a race of creatures that literally carved out a whale and used it to descend down into the Idoneth Deepkin
to find the Idoneth Deepkin. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking a race that knows no limits of depravity.
So August, you've been hearing this, man, and obviously. There you. Oh, okay. All right. Say that one more time, man.
Perfect army for the perfect man. Vile, but geniuses.
Yeah. And I found interesting, and August, what do you know about this? I mean, Skaven society, right? It's divided broadly, I guess, into different clans, like we said a little bit earlier, each within their own distinct culture and ways of war, I guess the best way to put it. If you were going to play Skaven, who's your clan, man?
I actually did have a small Skaven army before, and I always was drawn just to the basic clan rat. What would be clan Verminous now? Just the basic clan, because you have your stockpiling troops, you got your horde army, like Gary was saying, and you can just buy off all the extra things you need. You can go to Mulder for your rats. You can go to Pestilence for, catapults.
Your plague, yeah.
And you can get whatever you need, but for me, it's just the clan rats. It's where the basis of your army starts.
Gotcha. No, I had heard a rumor, and I don't know if this is true or not. I'm kind of sidebarring here, but are clan rats no more?
No, they're being repackaged. I actually asked someone about that, and what's going on is they're getting a repackaging, just like they've done with the ogres when they said that the ogre bulls were being no longer available. It's just a simple
round
repackaging.
Bases.
Yeah, they're going to round bases, exactly. Same thing's going to happen to the Storm.
Okay. All right, good. Well, I was a little concerned. I don't know who I heard that from, but I had heard that that the clan rats were getting kind of
you heard it from
old
me,
Shandola.
because when I went online, we were talking
about
that.
Yeah, oftentimes you do lie to me. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
we I don't know what I'm going to do with you. I saw it online. It said that they were no longer available. Well, I, of course, thought one of two things. Number one, they're possibly doing a new clan rat box based upon the 4 different major clans. Like maybe you could outfit them differently, or they're just simply reboxing them, as Sean said, to give them rounds.
Okay, and let me go back to something you were mentioning before about their history.
And the Age of Sigmar stamp on the box. Sorry.
and the Age of Sigmar stamp on the box. So let's kind of go back to this real quick. So, okay, we've already covered this, but we all know Skaven are the supreme meddlers of all the realms, and Steve or August or Sean or anybody, back me up on this or kind of bring me up to speed on this. Wasn't it the interference of the assassins from the clan Eshin that caused Nagash's grand ritual at the end of End Times to go horribly awry, while
Yes, it
stray
was.
Skaven tunnelers were, I guess, indirectly responsible for, well,
Oh.
like we talked about before, revealing the Ida of Deepkin. But these guys, what was the whole background on that? I mean,
Clan Eshin actually, the assassins of Clan Eshin have always been Nagash's Achilles heel. Back in the old world, they gave Alcatazar, I believe his name was, they gave him the Fellblade, which was this deadly Skaven blade made out of pure warpstone, and basically anything it touched, it destroyed. So they gave this weapon to this Tomb King. He wasn't really a Tomb King, but he was part of like that Egyptian empire as like a human king. And they released him out of Nagash's prison, gave him this weapon, and the guy went and found Nagash and ended up killing him. Not killing him, but at least, expelling him for, a couple millennia. And who was behind it? The Skaven. Who gave him the sword? The Skaven. I mean, they've always been a thorn in Nagash's side since the very beginning of his storyline.
That is just, I mean, it's hard not to just love these little bastards. It's funny. I love their background. I love their backstory a lot. Like, you've heard me say before on the show, Nurgle and all that, but they're not my cup of tea. They're not my play style. I couldn't play them. But I will say that whenever I think of that one particular army across the table, that always kind of gives me the spooks a little bit, that I know I'm going to have a tough game regardless. It's always Skaven. It really, really is.
Yeah. Used to be that way in 6th, 7th, and 8th edition too.
Well,
they were an army not to be played with.
Well, I mean, yeah, they are. They've always been this army that is either gonna hit you harder than winter on welfare right in the beginning, or they're gonna take your soul from you just when you think that you've won. So that's kind of the way that that army works. But so let's go back to this.
Been.
So August, what do you know about them? I mean, as far as what's coming out, and as far as the book, you've kind of seen some of the things. I mean, what are you looking forward to as far as the Skaven are concerned?
I haven't looked too much into it, but for me,
okay.
I always like options. When I'm looking for armies, I want to have different paths that I can build. I don't like it if I'm forced into, I have to play this way, like the current, like I have to play with Nagash. I don't like that. I would like, with the different clans, if each of them is their own thing and are viable on their own, or could be concentrated together to bring all the clans together into one army.
I think we do know that's happening. I mean, and let's kind of get into that here a little bit. I mean, the book comes out for pre-order this Saturday. It's going to be in everyone's sweaty palms the following Saturday, and it's planned to really give us, the whole Skaven that follow the long, strange story of the Skaven into the mortal realms. Obviously, it's going to be exploring the nature of the Great Horned Rat. Steve, what are those things called, or August, or Sean, or maybe Gary, you might even know the gnaw holes. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, they're called gnaw holes. They're basically these warp gates. And what you're going to be able to do with these is you're going to get 3 of them. And you're going to be able to place them around the battlefield, just like an undead player does with tombstones and like the gravestones. And basically, you have to be wholly within 6 inches of one of these gnaw holes. And then you can take that unit, move it through this warp gate, and come out on the other side of the table. They are going to be one of the deadliest of the ambushing armies now. They're going to be deep striking all over the place.
Gary, what do you think about that, man?
Well, Gene Stealer Cult was coming out as a very similar thing to that, to where they're known for coming out of nowhere, so to speak. And I think Skaven are no different than that. It's a great tactic, and much to what August had said, I like options too, but I also like the uniqueness. What makes me different than everybody else? That's one of the reasons why I picked Skaven, because I think they're largely different than everything else. So.
And what's funny is I remember when we had that discussion, and I don't remember what number show it was. I think it was our 52nd or 53rd show. We were talking about what our predictions for 2019. And I remember thinking to myself, how the heck does Gary know it's going to be Skaven? But I got to tell you, I laughed pretty much out loud when I saw the new book that was coming out and what they were planning on doing with combining all the clans again. And I just went, son of a bitch, Gary can't be right on fantasy too. I mean, he's kicking my ass on 40K. Now he's got this thing down. It's so, but I got to tell you, I gotta, even though that wasn't my pick, I'll sit by it. I picked Slanesh, but Gary, I think you might be right. I really think Skaven is going to be the army in 2019 to dethrone Legions of Nagash. And that's why I think
I guarantee you that's going to happen.
Well, here's the thing. Look at it this way, guys. What's the starter box? A Death Army versus Skaven Army. They're kind of already telling us that. Look at the history that we just talked about as far as Skaven with Nagash and everything else. I mean, I'm telling you what, I'm thinking we're going to see like the title change here. I really do. But with that said, in Adepticon, 2020, we'll be playing out of our 5 games. We'll be playing 4 of them will be Skaven armies probably.
I don't know. That's one of the things I've always loved about Skaven is that they really are not an army that appeals to a broad range of gamer.
Why do you think that is?
Because of the nature of the rodentia. They just don't. People just don't like rats. They don't like looking at them. And Skaven are, even though they can be a very beautiful army when they're painted fully, they have a lot of browns and a lot of darker colors in them, and that doesn't really appeal to a lot of gamers. They like a little.
They're more the earth tones.
Yeah, they have a lot of the earth tones, the darker colors, and I think people get bored with them. Like just even the people that try to play them, because they just don't appeal to you like over a long period of time. But it takes a very distinct kind of person to both play Skaven and enjoy them over a long period of time. It just really does. Skaven players are Skaven players, and that's just the bottom line. There's no other way to put it. You are either a Skaven player or you are not.
Well, I do know that my own son is a rat bastard just like you. So
exactly. I mean, junior rat right there.
There you go. So August, what do you think, man? I mean, do you think you'll get more into the Skaven, or have you kind of the opinion that that you like their backstory and kind of what they are, but maybe it's not your play style, or what do you think? What say you?
Overall, I would say that I'm more of a horde player, so I could definitely see myself playing this kind of army. I have undead right now, I have demons, but I could definitely see myself playing like
Beast of Chaos,
Beast of Chaos, goblins, stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into this here a little bit. Let's kind of talk a little bit more. We briefly kind of discussed earlier when we were talking about the Skaven, about their allegiance abilities, and let's kind of start from the top here. We talked about the Skaven ability as far as their allegiance abilities, but we talked about the army as far as being a horde army. So here it is, overwhelming mass. So we talked a little bit before about wanting to see what their allegiance abilities were, and kind of while we were sitting there talking, I looked these up. So here it is. First of all, let's kick it off with this. We got overwhelming mass, and basically it's their strength in numbers, which can transform even a humble unit of clan rats into a fairly terrifying fighting force. So let's get into this. So, what say you? Either Sean, Steve, Gary, the gang, anyone? This is obviously going to kind of be like the almost like what the Flesh Eater Courts had at one time, as far as their ability to I always like to call it the again and again. So
they're not going anywhere, and their battle shock is not even going to be a factor for them. They have, if you look here at strength and numbers, now I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at, Pat. It says when a Skaven Tide unit takes a battle shock test, add 2 to its bravery characteristic instead of 1 for every 10 models. So Skaven are going to be in units of 40. Like of course they are. So
yeah,
you're going to be dealing with high leadership horde armies, and that's at least the same as the undead.
10 to 12. I mean, if they give them a 2, you're going to be looking at the bad of a 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, plus you're also gaining bravery for every rank of 10.
Yeah, well, but it makes sense. The Skaven feel emboldened when they're in great numbers, but as you start to whittle them down, that's when they start to tuck and run.
Okay, so it says here, Skaven Tide unit takes a battle shock test, add 2 to its bravery characteristic instead of 1 for every 10 models in the unit.
Yes. So they're getting 2 for every 10 models. So in a 40-man unit, do the math. They're not going anywhere.
+8. I'm guessing like clan rats would be a 2, maybe a 3 or 4. So I mean, you're
Clan
looking
rats
at
are yeah, they're like a 4.
yeah. I mean, you're already looking at a 12, unless they change something.
That's right.
Yeah, well, here's another one. Lead from the back. So this is another one of their abilities. The second of them. I think there's 6 or 7, I believe. Let me try to.
And these are just a few. These are just like preview abilities.
Oh yeah,
There's plenty more.
And this is so characteristic of a of a Skaven leader. He's not out there in the front. He's kind of prodding his army right to the meat grinder. But and it's kind of interesting because it says basically when they lead from the back and scurry away, which makes Skaventide heroes, almost impossible to pin down. So kind of talk to us a little bit about this.
Well, lead from the back is a classic Skaven ability.
Okay.
In the old version, battle standards could actually hide in the back of units and still have their ability apply to the unit. Whatever the standard was. Okay. There are old stories of Skaven warlords literally sending tens of thousands of their own troops to die. This race does not care. They have so many millions and millions of clan rats and storm vermin that they don't care if they expend 10,000 of their own troops to fulfill a grudge.
Yeah.
And they are the most vindictive little buggers that you'll ever meet.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what the story about the dwarf. We can get it back in their wars with them.
Great story.
But yeah, that's for another time, another place. But I always thought it was a good example of what they're willing to expend, I guess, on that front. But moving on. So even some of the specific clans have their own, I guess, allegiance abilities. August, have you actually looked into any of these at all?
I have not yet.
Okay. Well, the more I get into reading these things, and I got to tell you, this is going to be a tough one. This army is going to be incredible. I mean, I think Clan Scryer and Pestilence abilities will be, I guess, they're saying familiar from their appearances, I guess, in last year's General's Handbook. There's not going to be much difference from what those are.
Well, Scryer doesn't need any major changes. The Scryer right now is deadly if played well. Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, that's a good point. And so their allegiance abilities for these guys here, particular Clan Verminus, I guess you're going to be able to give a command trait for 6 Claw Lords, giving you, I guess, loads of versatility, I would suppose. So there it is. I mean, you when you pick a command trait, you can pick 1 command trait for up to 6 friendly Claw Lords. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, one of the things that you used to see in the old versions of Skaven was that they could take just tons of characters. You probably remember, Pat, all the Warlock engineers I used to have in my unit.
Oh yeah, I sure do.
And every time some big nasty monster would come flying in to beat on me, I'd throw a Warlock at him one at a time with a challenge, and they couldn't even touch the unit. So I think that's kind of what they're going back to, where they're going to have just tons of characters to mess with people.
My castle accepts.
There you go. I really hope that the Hell Pit Abomination gets an update. That's all. But that's a sidebar topic.
I do too.
So moving on with the abilities here, we got Molder Prize Creation. So this goes back to the Frankenstein.
Yeah, this one, in my opinion, is going to be the one to watch for. This one right here is incredible. Okay, so it says you can pick 1 friendly clan Molder fighting beast. Okay. So that could be any number of creatures, hell pits, rat ogres, whatever. It says for each master molder in your army, the same fighting beast cannot be picked more than once to benefit from this ability, but add D3 to the wound characteristic of each of those models. So if you have 7, let's say master molders, or however many, 3, 4, 5, whatever, they will be able to add D3 to each rat ogre in a unit.
Well, I think it might just be more monsters, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see what
fighting beast. So that's probably going to be your rat ogres. It's probably going to be your maybe your hell pits, or it's going to be could be storm fiends. Oh, I mean, God help us if it's Storm Fiends.
Well, Storm Fiends are yeah.
'Cause they can have fighting
It's
versions.
the Master Molder, yeah.
That's right. They can have fighting versions, and they are part of the Molder list.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be really nasty if you're using that on Storm Fiends. Well, like I said, we'll have to wait and see what the book says, but
yeah,
that can be deadly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because with all these allegiance abilities and the books that are coming out, and heck, now we're even using movement trays because of the large armies. Man, Sean, didn't we say this? We said this when almost 2 years ago. We're going to be heading back to movement trays. Steve, you and I have talked about it now, and as we kind of push away here a little bit from talking about these allegiance abilities, look at the magic that these guys are getting. They're going back to just like before. They're going to have what, 2 lores now? Is what they're saying. There's going to be 2.
Yeah, Lore of Pestilence and Lore of Ruin.
Yeah, and one of the things that I came across was,
and then hopefully there'll be Plague too. Can't
Splinter
forget about Plague.
Well, that is Pestilence. That's Pestilence, Sean.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But what we do know is that they're getting 2 magical lores to draw from. The first one is going to be the Lore of Ruin. And this is available to Grey Seers, and it contains like all sorts of hideous, effective curses, I'm sure. And Splinter, for example, the one I'm showing up here, lets you pick out a key enemy model and slay them. I mean, and it's a casting value of 6. That's your middle of the road, kind of on 2d6. That's not too hard to get.
Oh, not at all. Especially,
but it's within 6 inches of the caster.
But here's the thing: most heroes are 5 wounds, and you pick one enemy model within 6 inches of the caster and roll a dice. If the roll is greater than that model's wound characteristic, bang, slayed outright, done.
It is the exact same ability that the Dankhold Troggoths have, where if they reach down and grab you for the squeeze, if they get your wounds or higher, you die. No ward save, nothing, you die. So that's basically just a spell version of that.
Yeah, Gary, they took that one from the Knights, huh? 40K.
Yep, certainly did.
Yeah, but I like it. I like the way that the games are kind of sharing some gameplay abilities. But the second, I'm sorry, Sean, what were you going to say, bud?
Mechanics. Same mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. August, what are your thoughts so far, man?
I think that's a really powerful spell, and again, like I said, versatility. Having the 2 different lores to pick from is really going to be beneficial. Options is always key.
I definitely agree with that. But the second lore is
another thing you can do with that is Battle Shock, make them lose a bunch of models.
Who? You're talking about the enemy or the Skaven?
No, you could break coherency with it.
Coherency, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good. Hey, see, we're already telling people how to win games with them.
Let me give you a case example. You're fighting a unit of Blight Kings, and they're lined up in front of you in a row. You have someone, and let's say they're already in combat with one of your units. You take that spell and you put it on that specific model, and you kill him. Well, we all know that Blight Kings are on 40s. So that's more than an inch. So if they've already, right there, if they don't pile in, or if they can't pile in for some reason, it is a coherency breaker.
Yep. Yeah.
I was going to say go one better and go after a big horde army that's spread across. Like a 40-man unit that's spread across.
Like it's strung out.
Because they're strung out, for screen. Like, okay, I kill this model and pick a side.
Hey, Sean, you did say horde army spread across, didn't you?
No.
But I can't. I had bad hearing. It's from Gary yelling at me all the time.
Yeah, you have bad something, all right.
It's not hearing. It's certainly something else.
So. The second lore is Warp Volt. I think I said that right. And here's another. Here's another little spell. This casting a 7, a little more difficult to cast than the other one here. But yeah, you could almost hear him saying that.
More warp.
Oh, Sean, you'll be hearing me say that plenty of times in the next couple months.
What about when you guys game? All right. So,
folks, for those of you who are listening to the show, Pat will be going back to the asylum after the show.
Actually, I heard that he will not be allowed to go back there. They don't even want him.
His prison release has been revoked.
All right, moving on. So I've cast this on a 7. So so it's more and more warp power. I guess this is gives your your chosen unit rerolls.
More warp power, Pat. You forgot the more.
I can't do that as well as you. Maybe if we all want to do it in unison, Gary, chime in. Let's all do it together. Kind of like.
Let's not.
Okay. So
Moving on.
Are we game or what?
So let's get into this one. I mean, this one looks like well, it gives you the ability to kind of supercharge here a little bit. Gives you a little safety from doing that, right?
That's exactly what it does. Yeah, it says if successfully cast, pick one friendly clan scryer unit wholly within 12 inches of the caster, invisible to them. You can re-roll hit and wound rolls for that unit. So now imagine a fighting unit of Storm Fiends.
Yeah.
Now they're re-rolling all of their hits and all of their wounds. They take D3 at the end of the combat. Who cares?
Oh no, they still got what?
Yeah, thank you. They still have 7. Yeah, was it 4 wounds left, even if they maxed out at 3?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this spell right here was tailor made for Storm Fiends.
Beauty. I got to tell you,
it will be.
It's from what we're hearing, and I guess just kind of talking a little bit about the army here, kind of going through some of their abilities and just some of the little stuff we know ahead of the pre-order this Saturday. I mean, I don't think we've really gotten into half of it. I mean, we're talking about probably we're going to get some improved war scrolls. There's obviously going to be some battalions. They're saying, is it 36 artifacts
yes,
available to the army?
Mm-hmm.
That's a ton. I mean, how many?
Is.
Okay, I mean, I don't think there was that many in. Well, I can tell you right now,
well, the
in Gloomspite
they did have a lot of artifacts because there were some for the spiders, some for the Moon Clan, and even some for the trolls. So,
yeah, there was like 6 of each, I think.
Yeah, but still,
including Beastmen, there were 18 for Beastmen. So
yeah, but 36 just seems to be a huge number to me. Like that's
a huge number. Yeah,
yeah.
Well,
but I mean,
hey, 4 clans, right?
There's 4 major clans. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm just trying to picture what this army is going to look like, and that's the craziest thing. Well, thank you very much, Professor. I do appreciate that. August, what do you think, man? What is your? I mean, we know it's going to be a horde army. I did say horde, didn't I? At any rate,
now it's getting old.
So, what does your Skaven army look like, August? Describe it.
I think the picture that you have on the screen right now would be what I would bring. I'd have clan rats, storm vermin, and then probably some artillery to back it up. I think that's all you need.
Okay. Steve, you agree with that?
No, I'm going to go a different route. My army is going to be Jezzails, Warp Lightning Cannons, and Storm Fiends. I'm going full clan scryer.
Okay. Yeah, I think Evan might be doing the same thing. I would presume.
I mean, if you want to shoot, I mean, obviously that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Gary, what do you think about that, man? Shooting Skaven.
Yeah, I believe you want to see it. So. No, I've seen those models are really cool.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally the army has been a horde army. I guess if you want to use them that way, you're going to be just as successful as maybe going more shooty.
Well, that's one of the beautiful things about the versatility of the Skaven, and it always has been, that you can do anything with them. You can make them a fighting army, you can make them a shooting army, you can make them a stealth army, or you can make them a little bit of all of that.
Yeah.
And that's what's always made Skaven so appealing. I mean, when you talk to any Skaven player, one of the things they will tell you is that versatility has always been one of the strongest points of that army.
Yeah.
And,
well,
I
agree with that.
Now, I mean, my God, you have 6 wound rat ogres that can shoot you from 18 inches and get 2d6 attacks apiece. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Right. I mean, the thing is that when I think about, again, and it's one of those armies that every time I see it across the table, I'm kind of concerned for the outcome of the game. They've always been a tough army, and I probably played Skaven more than I've played any other army as far as game to game. And the funny thing about this army is, you're going to find I think there's a ton of different sorts and unusual army builds out there for this army. I've seen a ton of different builds, and they're all unique. You can either have a artillery line of plague claws with bulky rat ogres. You can
gutter runners.
You can field a super elite force of storm vermin like you have right now, Steve. That son of a bitchin' army, or field a big terrifying group of vermin lords. I mean, the possibilities are pretty endless with this army, and always have been, by the way. I mean, it's even if you wanted to focus on one of the clans, right? I mean, you could still do that. I mean,
that's what they're doing with this book. They're giving you the opportunity to tailor your army to the clans, but still have the benefits of using units from the other ones.
That's right. Yeah. So there it is, guys. Our little high-low on Skaven, and so that battle tome is going to be ready for pre-order this weekend, alongside the
dice and the terrain.
Yep. And the is it the Carrion Empire battle tome, Flesh Eater Courts?
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
They don't have dice. They just have they have a piece of terrain. They have endless spells. And they have the book, but I'm really disappointed that they did not create any Flesh Eater Court dice. I thought that was kind of wrong to do when you did the same thing for Skaven. I mean, I didn't understand why they didn't do that.
Well, they kind of have those Warpstone dice. By the way, I hate those things. Evan plays them, and I can never see the damn things.
Well, these new dice are great. You could see them clearly.
Okay. All right.
For the Skaven.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, good stuff, and like always, you know that you're going to get a hell of a game whenever you're playing against them. Again, not my cup of tea, but I think they're a great army. But let's keep rolling here, man. We got more stuff we got to get into. So Sean, what do we got happening out there in the news world, man?
Well, unfortunately, nothing.
Not much really, other than we just kind of talked about it, right?
Well, Space Angel Michael will be coming out, also known as Seguinius.
Okay.
For 30K.
Those people are crying.
Crying about what?
Good. It doesn't look good. I was like, oh my god.
Bullshit. Look at the special edition model.
That model is one of the coolest looking models I've ever seen. I don't understand. I don't even play 40K. I would love to use that model.
Actually, it's 30K.
Why people don't like
it's 30K.
It's the same thing. It's lasers.
It's the same thing as fireballs. It's all the same.
I would add in that I'm sure you can find that there's a post online that that compares his face to Bill Nye. It's a dead on.
Actually, the inspiration for that was the Archangel Michael, I believe.
Michael.
Yeah,
Michael.
Although Seguinius that's not him, Pat.
Well, I'm working on it.
Pat, hang on. I will find it for you.
That him?
Every week.
That's him, but that's not the model.
No.
All right. Well,
give me a minute. So basically, they actually came out with. They previewed
there he is. He's right there, Pat. Go back down. Okay, stop. You just had
right there.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Now, is that not the coolest looking model?
That is a bitchin' model. That is really cool.
I'm telling you, 40K players were crying like you couldn't believe when I went into the store.
I don't know why they're crying.
Let me go back to this.
It's because they're not cool enough to have Space Jesus as a Primarch. That's all.
No.
Okay, hold on. So Gary,
what?
Help me out. Sean, back me up. Help me out on this. Why are they crying? I don't get it.
The only thing I didn't. Well, all right. So that's the special edition version of him. That's him with the spear. Seguinius had two different weapons. He had a sword and a spear.
Okay.
But let me see if I can find the one where.
But that still doesn't. I still don't get why.
It was the weird pose.
Yeah.
So
it looks like he's wailing.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, people put they made a picture of a whale. They're wailing, or whatever. Because the way that his hand was with the sword, it was like that, but it just looked kind of weird. Like he was going for like the coup de grace, if you will. Well, coup de grace. Yeah, I always call it coup de grace because it always piss off some people.
Grace? She's been dead for 40 years.
Moving on.
So
there. I see what you did there.
So I have a friend that wants to get this guy, or he wanted to, but as soon as he's seen it, he's very upset. And the way that he described it was the pose was really bad. It kind of looked like he was like sitting on this kind of rock thing, and it was just really weird. And two, he said like the face and the hair were kind of not what he was expecting.
Pat, I'm sending
Okay,
you a link.
so that's
That's the original model right there. Now that's a special edition one. The one I just sent you is the regular model.
okay.
So go ahead and that's the original.
Okay. And this one here is okay.
Yeah.
So sword and spear.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I have a friend of mine who's a Blood Angels fan. He did nothing but whine and complain.
Is it who I think it is though? So he does nothing but that.
It's Tyler. No, okay.
Yeah.
But,
There's nothing but it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, my only thing is like I didn't in the original. I'm not a big fan of that. The hair, it just kind of looked a little weird. But I mean, the pose was kind of wonky if you look at it. You know what I mean? And especially from the camera angle, it kind of looks like that little, like he's coming down. And I get why people say when with the sword, he has it, kind of like that, like he's going to just, coup de grace someone. It's just kind of it looks a little weird. But the special edition model is much better in my opinion.
they just need to get over it. They're fine.
Okay.
It's a great looking model. Like, he's not bulky. I mean, the wings look fucking amazing. And yes, I did say that. I mean, the model looks really good. He's wearing his little like lion, tiger, cloak, cheetah thing, whatever. I forgot what animal was called,
If you kept running them down, you're bound to hit the right one.
Right.
Lion, cloak, tiger, gold.
Oh my.
The model looks awesome.
It does.
And I will be purchasing one.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. They're crying not because of anything the model does in the game, because of the pose?
Right.
We don't even know what it does in the game, but I'm assuming it's very good because he's one of the top end fighters of all the Primarchs.
I waited to hear why they were crying for that. Like, I thought it was going to be something cool.
No, it was honestly that dumb.
Yeah.
It's spoiled children.
Wow.
And another thing is, the Blood Angels also have a Contemptor Dreadnought with a jump pack.
Cool. And is that out or coming out?
That is coming out. Sigonius is supposed to come at their Forge World Open Day, and then they're going to have some special things on there.
Okay.
I look at their website all the time. Like, I've been checking like once or twice a day on Forge World just to see when it would be coming, even going like the pre-orders because, well, I want one.
I got you. Okay. All right, good deal. What else, man? What else we got in the news? What's happening out there?
LVO's coming. LVO is out today.
Yeah. LVO is out and running.
Right now, I have 36 missed notifications in one of my Facebook groups of all my friends that are there right now.
Ugh. Are you
So I'd be here for this show.
see, that's dedication right there, man.
It's one thing. I don't know. Liar. My wife just called me a liar. This is the world we live in, folks.
Good. All right. So besides Gary's heartbreak about LVO, and what else is happening out there? All right. That might be the news
out there.
Well, we're waiting for the LVO stuff to come out. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's they got to
release.
Get through their. Yeah, they got to get through their 6,000 games, right? I mean,
there's going to be lots of drama, and somebody's going to cheat. That's pretty much what's going to happen.
That was one of my favorite topics when we talked about that last year.
Well, it happens every year.
It happens every year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, how did you win? Well, he cheated. Well, why did you say when he cheated?
Let's kind of take another few minutes and kind of talk about one of the smaller topics we have on the show before we let you off let you out of your chains. So since we're talking about tournaments, let's talk about some of the scoring stuff that's been happening. I'm going to kind of tee this up, and Gary, you're probably the most accomplished TO of all of us here. I mean,
Oh my God.
So here's the here's my point. All right. Now, Steve, you and I have probably talked about this in nauseum. Sean, you and I agree almost lock, stock, and smoking barrel on a lot of this. We all know that, and I'm sure it's the same way in 40K, but we know that in the fantasy tournament scene, there's this composite scoring. And you know, you guys have heard me rail on the composite scoring. August, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it too if you've listened to the past shows, but you're going to get a big dose of it now, buddy. You know, this composite scoring, I've never really been a fan of. I think it's always kind of I'm going to say rigged right now, and I'll explain why I think that is later. Steve, you with me on that one?
Oh, I'm 100%.
Yeah, and so here's the point. You know, the composite scoring is you get points for your wins, losses, and draws, right? But you also they kind of throw all of the other composite points kind of in this mixed non-hard number. You know, you get your kill points mixed in there on an average, you get your sportsman in an average, you get your presentation as an average, and you get your hobby as an average. And you know, it's kind of funny numbers. And I always say the reason why I don't like that is because could you imagine, and I'll just use this as an example, the game of American football as an example. Could you imagine if instead of the hard rank and file scoring system we have in that. I mean, touchdowns are 6 points, point after is 1 point, field goals are 3 points, and a safety is 2 points. So those are fixed methods for one team to score those points. The team that scores the more points wins. Now imagine this. Imagine you went away from that and you went to a composite score system.
Thank you, John Madden. Thank you, John Madden.
Now, here's the thing. Hold on. But let me just get to this. Now, instead of those hard points, the crowd gets to vote on the uniforms, and you know, maybe then you have a composite average for, you know, your yards, you know, carried at, you know, at the first down versus, you know, your goal line, your stoppages versus, you know, how many stop for loss your linebackers get. All of those things get you know mixed in there, so that the team that actually scored more touchdowns, more field goals, they don't win the game because that was only a part of their composite score. And by the way, the crowd can also pick, you know, who their favorite player was, or who, and that would go towards it. I think it's a funny way to score a tournament. I personally, in the tournaments I run, I don't score it that way. You've heard me talk about the paint scores. You know, some you know jackalope can go out there and pay someone $2,000-$3,000 to paint their army, and then they submit it, and they win a painting, the painting competition, which goes towards their composite score to elevate them. And you know, I don't think that's right. So my thing is, I'm a little more of a, you guys have seen the scoring system that I have is that, you know, you win the game based off of your points. Kill points are solely there to break ties. Hobby is separate and sportsman is separate, period. It's because I think those things can have the opinion to the fact, or the art form to the science. I think your gameplay has to speak for itself. So I'm going to kind of go out of order here, and I'm going to throw this over to Gary. Gary, you've heard me bitch about this. You know, what are your thoughts on this? Because I kind of already know where Steve's coming from. So I'm going to throw it to you. Then August, you're up next, man. So Gary, what do you think on those kind of scoring systems?
I don't like it. Composite at all. Here's why. Before everybody starts like burning their score sheets.
Okay.
Anytime that you put opinions or somebody else's thoughts into what you scored, other than the raw data of what you actually scored, you set yourself up to have skewed results.
Amen.
So if I am going around and there was like, oh, we got to keep personal out of it. We can't keep personal out of a conversation. How are we going to keep it out of scoring? I've been to events to where one person went, this is the best painted army, and they gave him the award, and I didn't know it because I don't judge painting because I'm not good at it. I don't know what to look for. And personally, I'd get a migraine because they all look beautiful, and I wouldn't know which one's better than the other ones out of like the top 10. But one individual had won, and everybody looked around. I was like, I don't think his was the best painted. But that was his opinion. And it wasn't because it was painted well, it's because his display was massive. Well, it's different. That's a different type of award. So keep that out of it. Have a different award for that. We have one that's for best hobbyist. Because a lot of times the people that go there that have the, for 40K side of it anyway, They have the big, huge displays and the greatly painted models. Typically, don't do that well in the games they play. But at the end of it, there's best sportsmanship, there's best painted, there's best hobbyist, there's all of that stuff to go that rule. Now, we have every event that I run, there's I don't know how it is in AOS, but there's best overall.
Yeah, we have that. Yep.
And there's best general.
We do that.
And then you have best painted, theme, sports, and then we break it up into categories. I guess for AOS, it would be best chaos, best destruction, best order.
Correct.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, best F, correct.
Okay. Now, the one that I go for is best general. I'm not winning best overall. If I max on battle points and that puts me at 100 points, my paint score is probably 40 out of 100. If the guy that has the 100 for painting and gets 60 battle points wins best overall, I'm completely okay with that because technically he put more time in my opinion. But these other scores that you guys are talking about, there's no way I would be able to put that into there. Like opinions. Why don't you just have this is 1 to 50 on opinion. Well, I can look over and go, oh, there's the TO from Good and Bad to Ugly that I stomped the crap out of last year. He's going to come do my paint jobs. I'm getting a 2. People can't separate opinions from points.
That's true.
So
Steve, all right, man. I think Gary just hit on just about every.
This one.
What's that?
I could go on forever on this.
Oh, I know, and
so could we.
So Steve,
going for AOS, what are the different categories?
Well, it obviously for say a GT, you're going to have best overall, then you're going to have best general. At least the way that my tournaments are run, because I like to keep it clean.
No, I meant the points. Like, how do you determine their score?
Okay, well, it's real simple. I can probably pull up a typical scorecard. No, basically, here's the thing: you've got your game scenario. You're gonna have to play that anyways. So for playing the scenario, each person gets. And while I'm talking here, I'm actually gonna pull up an example of a scorecard. But each person gets 10 points, right, for playing the scenario. So once you play the scenario, what's that?
Just 10 points right out the gate.
10 points right off the gate just for playing the scenario. So and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up I have it here for Polar Vortex. Excuse me here for 1 sec, guys. Steve, while I'm looking for this, why don't you jump in and just kind of give your 2 cents in a tin can on your thoughts about the scoring?
Well, it's exactly what Gary was driving at. Anytime you allow anytime you allow your opponent's opinion of you or how you played to affect the score of a game, the tournament immediately, in my opinion, becomes invalid. The winner is not the winner. It opens up so many scenarios for cheating and for aiding and abetting. For instance, let's say that your buddy is going to win, is pretty much set to win the tournament or has a real good chance to. Well, you're playing a guy that is going to be probably going against your buddy. So he cleans your clock, and at the end of the game, you say, well, I'm going to take this guy out. I'm going to take this guy out for my buddy so he can play a weaker player. Or he doesn't have to face this guy. There's so many opportunities for clicks and for favoritism and for people to screw you out of a legitimate victory because they are using their personal feelings to skew the tournament.
Okay. All right. Now I agree. So let me go back here. So here's a typical scorecard that I have. So I'm just going to run.
Do you use Excel for everything? Have you ever heard of Microsoft Word or Publisher?
No, but not now, boyo. Daddy's working. Let me just explain this.
I usually
So here's the thing. So each game is going to be scored out of a maximum of 20 points. All right, those are tournament points. These are scored by completing primary and secondary objectives. Now that's going to be listed on whatever scenario we're playing. After the game is completed, each player is given 10 tournament points. If you won the primary objective, then you receive 5 tournament points. If your opponent won the primary objective, then you lose an additional 5 tournament points. For every secondary objective you complete, you receive 1 additional tournament point. For every secondary objective your opponent completes, you lose 1 tournament point. So as the example that I listed here in the scorecard is Jack and Thomas play a game. At the end of the game, they both receive 10 tournament points. Jack completes the primary objective, so Jack receives an additional 5 tournament points, and Thomas loses 5 tournament points. For their secondary scenario, Jack completes 4 of his, and Thomas only 2. Jack receives 4 tournament points and loses 2, whereas Thomas gains 2 and loses 4. So the final score is Jack 17, 10 plus 5 plus 2, and the final score for Thomas is 3. 10 minus 5 plus 2 minus 4. Jack beats Thomas 17-3.
Future, I have a question.
Go ahead.
All right. So this actually happened when I was ringing. So what happened was I lost the primary objective, and the person won the second. Or sorry, I lost the primary. They won the primary.
So you would get minus 5.
Yep.
And your opponent got plus 5.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I got 5 secondaries.
Okay.
They got no secondaries.
Okay.
That would be a draw.
No,
because
then
they
your
won
kill
the primary
points.
objective.
Here, here's the thing. By the points, your total points. So what you're saying is, you got 10. And I remember this conversation. You got 10. Your opponent got 10. What did I say? Always is the tiebreaker.
Kill points.
Kill points. There you go.
Okay. So the ringer technically won.
The ringer can never win.
Right.
But if it was a straight game, then yes. So that and here's the thing. I do believe that there's a certain sentiment of this hobby where the art form meets the science. August, are you still with us, man? Do you agree with this, or what do you think?
I would tend to agree with what you guys are saying. Like, it makes more sense that what you do by yourself in the game matters more than what your opponent might think of you. Yeah, it's great to be a sportsman and have a good painted army, but at the end of the day, this is a tournament, and what matters is what you did in the game.
Correct.
Nobody cares about how many times the receiver or running back will actually walk up to the ref and hand him the ball instead of throw it to him. No one cares about that.
But goes back to something Gary talked about, where if you want to have a composite score, like for an award like the Hobbyist Award, I have no problem with that. That would be something cool to introduce, where you have someone who's being judged on their sportsmanship, maybe, and on their, on their paint job, and then of course on their generalship. I have no problem with a hobbyist kind of award, but it should be separate from the actual turn. It should be like a secondary award, like best, like just like best sportsmanship.
Yeah, but separate though, nothing composite.
Not part of the tournament scoring. Anytime your opponent can decide whether or not you win a tournament, and they don't even have to be a jerk about it. They can give you a 4 instead of a 5. Well, that can make the difference between the championship or second place.
Yeah, and this is where you look at the funny numbers. And Steve, we won't bring up the tournament, but there was a particular tournament that I was placed fairly high on the list, and let's just put it this way: the guy that went undefeated didn't win the tournament. The guy that had one loss won the tournament, and his army was painted by somebody else.
Correct.
And these are things that I always look at and say, and well, Steve, you say it a lot better than I do. What do you think is really the gig behind it?
Was that to me?
No, Steve. What do you really think is it's kind of like the good old boy club, or however you put that?
Well, it is a good old boy network, because basically, if you here's the problem, and I have to elaborate because I want to make sure I'm clear on this. when you have someone who can when you have people who are walking around judging your army's paint job, well, how do I know what the agenda is of that judge? And I'm not talking about paranoia. I'm talking about I don't know what this guy's agenda is. I don't know if he's been told by someone, hey, give this guy a bad score. Now,
Sure.
I'm not saying that happens because there's no proof of anything like that, and you can't be paranoid, but that could be a factor.
Mm-hmm.
You have sportsmanship. Well, if you're playing against someone who maybe just doesn't like you or just doesn't like your group, well, they don't have to screw you. They can just give you a 4 instead of a 5. Well, if that
Sure.
happens, you've already lost. Forget
Sure.
it. You might as well pack up your army and go home. You're not going to win.
Right. Or
And then-
August. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
No one is going to tell me that if you are at a tournament and you play 5 games and you win 4 out of the 5 and you're placed lower than a guy who won 2 out of 3 games, you're never going to justify that math to me. Never.
Right.
Now, hold on. Let me make this clear.
Sure.
Because I'm all about making it clear. Number 1, if I agree to the terms of a tournament when I pay my money to enter that tournament, then sucks to be me, because I accepted those rules when I signed on to play that tournament. And in fairness to any TO out there, if I agree to the terms of a tournament by registering for that tournament to play, then I have no one to blame but myself.
Yeah, but in many cases, you got to make sure that you know the scoring system before that tournament starts. But
in fairness, as I stated, in fairness, if I sign on to a tournament that has those rules clearly established and clearly, listed, then I have no right to complain. But that doesn't mean that I can't critique it, because as a customer, I have every right to critique something if I'm paying money for it. I don't have the right to complain and say that it's unfair, because I paid the money for it. I agreed to the terms by entering the tournament, but I can still chat with my buddies on a show like I'm doing right now and say, I feel these things need to be changed.
Okay. No, I like it. And August, she kind of understand what we're talking about here is, this happens many times with these composite scores. Let's say you and I are playing a game, and then we got to move on to our next topic here, because we're going to take the chains off of Gary and let him have at it. But, August, let's say you and I you got playing a game and you absolutely beat the crap out of me. We're in a major tournament, say like Adepticon or something. Well, I'm upset that you just absolutely annihilated me. Top of turn 2, my army's off the table. I'm done. So you might be the nicest guy in the world, but I'm just a poor little sport here. I'm just a little, moody little wimp. So I decided I'm going to give you a 2 on your sportsman. Now, in a composite score scenario, I've literally just screwed you over. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't cheat. You didn't do anything. But these things happen. So one way or the other, it's too manipulated, and that's and that's what we're talking about, August. You kind of follow the bouncing ball and kind of our little bitch here.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. That your ranking should not depend on what your opponent thinks of you as a player, or even if not at that, just like Steve was saying, they give you a 4 out of 5 just offhand, not even thinking about it, and it can screw you over. So
exactly. Yep. And Gary, I would call those guys toxic jackasses, right?
Every time.
All right, man. So, chains are off. Go get them.
First, before this gets started, when I finished, I'm going to end on something that's a very positive note, because it's what I tend to do every time, regardless of what the beginning of the topic is. Because there's something out there that I don't know if you guys are aware of, but after this, it's a very important message that was done by the community as a whole a long time ago. And it should be what we try to live up to each time we go out and do something. With that out of the way, there's things that are going on in both communities from people who don't have the testicular fortitude to say things in front of other people. But they will say them about them whenever said people aren't there. And then when confronted, what do? Anybody? Any guesses?
They fold like the Argentine army in '82.
They fold like a chair under my ass.
Right. They deny it. Well, people aren't going to make this stuff up. So I don't know, should I keep names out of it or not? So that's where I'm at right now.
I would keep names out.
Yeah, let's
keep
keep names out of it for now.
Okay, for now. So I will say this: when I'm in an event, and this has happened a handful of times, and I hear somebody bashing a certain player or a certain friend of mine, I go to that person and ask them specifically what it is that they're talking about, what it is that they have a problem with the person that's on there. And then they typically backtrack because they were doing is making an excuse as to why they lost, and they're coming up with some other BS reason. And that's how everything gets started, general hospitalized in the background. So everybody goes around, oh, well, the only reason why he won is because he cheated on this. My immediate question is, why didn't you get a judge and ask right away? And you know what the response is 90% of the time? No. That's the 10%. The 90 of it, and this is the hypocrisy of it. Oh, well, it really didn't matter that much to me. Oh,
Why are you bitching about it?
You're still
no, that's just a lie. Yeah, it mattered a lot. You're just too much of a wimp to do anything about it.
Right. Then or it's just a lie that didn't happen. Right.
Oh, I didn't even go there.
Yeah. Because there's been a couple of times, and since we're leaving names out of this, makes it very difficult, that I was at a large event, and a friend of mine was there, and the guy next to me is talking about him. So I go get said friend of mine who's much like me and said, hey, you might want to go over here and address this. So he walked.
I think I know this person.
And asked them, hey, what are you talking about? And then immediately clammed up, or like that, and just pretended like nothing happened. I mean, literally said no other words. But 5 seconds ago, he wouldn't even let that person sack his groceries. He was so far against them.
You're talking to my friend in the wrong tone.
Right. You didn't write it down.
Keep rolling.
You didn't set up a meeting. You didn't do any of these kind of things. When you hear stuff like that, say something to that person. That's the only way it's going to stop. If you don't say anything to the person and then you turn around and talk about them while they're not there, guess what? You're doing the exact same shit. Stop it. If you're not going to go up and say something to clear the air, then let it go. I have a person that I played, and this one I can't bring up a name in it because it's not accusing anything. I played Matt Root last year at Adepticon to make it to day 2. And we had almost a mirror match list. And I went in apprehensive because everybody's like, oh, he's a cheater, he's this, or he's got this stigma that goes behind him. I had a perfectly friendly game with him while he kicked my ass. I got 1 point off of him. I lost 39-1, did not make day 2, and had no problems playing with him whatsoever. So after that day, now I can formulate my opinion. That's the other challenge is be a grown-up and formulate your own opinion of people. Don't assume from what everybody else says.
Correct.
I'm out by another friend of mine, and he goes, and since he's a friend of mine, he say pajama pants like, oh, I don't like playing him. He was a cheater. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what you base that off of because I played him. I had no problems whatsoever. Right. So don't just buy into something because somebody says it. If you hear somebody talking about it, confront them about it and ask your friend. I've had a couple of friends that were accused of cheating. I asked them about it and they said, yes, I did that.
Oh, so your friends actually said, yeah, I cheated.
Yes.
Okay.
Years ago,
Okay.
5-6 years ago. Say I wasn't as good of a person then. I was more of a kid. I've grown whatnot out of that and accepted it and admitted it. People still can't let it go. Is it wrong that the person did it? Sure. Is it more wrong that you hold a grudge against somebody for years over a game whenever they've changed? They've come
Seems
back,
like a colossal waste of time.
right, and apologized for it, and tried to make amends for it. And there's a difference between, here's something else we need to clear up. There's a difference between cheating and then utilizing the rules. Some people don't like some of the rules. So if you use them, they say you're cheating. even though you're not. I.e., I played in what's the little side events at Adepticon for 40K? Is it Kill Team?
Kill Team?
Oh, what's it? It's something else. Not Kill Team.
Not sure.
Combat Patrol. Yeah.
So I didn't.
Because they didn't really have Kill Team out.
Right.
I mean, it was like there, but it wasn't there.
I didn't make day 2, so I went and played Combat Patrol, and I played against a gentleman that's not from the area, right? So they changed the rule a long time ago in 40K. You can pre-measure anything at any time, right?
Right. Yeah, that's like 6th edition, 5th edition.
Right. So I'm doing that and measuring, staying out. He's got a Vindicator and bikes and stuff, so I'm staying out of the range, right? And so the game was over. He still wound up winning, but during the game, he's like, "I've never seen anybody pre-measure so much in my life." And I'm like, "You mean measure? Because it's what's in the rules." Yeah, but we don't just play like that. We just put our stuff out there and what happens. I said, "So
you don't play by the rules?"
So you're telling me that tactically, you put something on the table and hope it's in range, or hope it's not in range of whatever it is that you're going with.
Right.
Because we considered using measuring like that. We just considered a dick move. Although,
here's one thing: know the rules.
Right. I consider it not being an idiot. You know, I'm allowed to do this in the rule sets. It says it right here in the book. Why wouldn't I do that? You know, and so
sound logic to me.
Right, he wound up winning the game, and he went and played a friend of mine after that, and he complained about me the whole time in that game. And a friend of mine went,
"Oh yeah, I do that too because it's a rule I can use."
He's like, "You're talking about Garrett, the guy who runs 90% of 40K events in the area, and is adamant about not cheating and about having integrity in what you do. That's the guy you're complaining about that you just played against.
How dare you have integrity and use the rules to your advantage?"
And the guy who played against measured everything and crushed him. It's Combat Patrol. You're supposed to be there to have fun, but you still utilize the rules, you know. And then he got pissed off and walked away. Well, that's to me that's kind of being the asshole part of what we're talking about. Because you don't like the way the rules are, I shouldn't use them. If that was the case, Yanari wouldn't exist. And the Castella Knight would be something that's set on somebody's shelf and never got used because I don't like the rules.
Like Pat's Knights?
He has Knights? I've seen.
The hell was that all about? Jeez, Sean, did you leave the shithouse door open again or did you just say something?
Hey, it's true.
Not wrong.
August, don't pay any attention to these bastards.
So, but back to the point that I'm making on this is, if you're running around doing that, and everybody in here, I don't know about August because I haven't met you until the last hour ago, but you're still on the show right now, so that's good. You didn't leave us.
Not yet.
Everybody knows people like this, and in the hobby, and typically there's a group of them that run around stirring up. ATC was the biggest example of this. Yes, Team Happy had been crushing everybody theirs for years. Yes, they have a stigma that follows them. Yes, some of them got caught cheating. Yes, they paid a price for it. That doesn't mean you take the mob mentality and sign a little petition and hand it to the judge and say, if you don't do something, we're going to leave. I would have said leave.
Amen to that.
Pack, all 50 of you, pack your crap and get out of here. If you want to run an event, run an event. You know, let us handle it the way we're supposed to. There's bylaws that were set on what it is that we're going to do, and we're going to stick by those bylaws and do it. One of those bylaws is I don't bend to peer pressure, and you coming up to me going, if you don't change this, I'm not going to come back. Well, pack your shit and go. I don't care. Because that's not to turn around and bully people because you're
and
tired.
Isn't a lot of people on Team Happy on Team America anyway?
No, none of them.
No, Justin, I thought Justin was.
No, none of them.
Not this year?
Nope. Tony Grapondo was. He's not anymore.
Okay.
And none of them are on. Nope. Not a one.
I know you still got Navanati and then
yeah, but they're not on Team Happy at all. They're on Beast Coast. But
no, I mean Team America.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
But outside of that, this isn't just the middle tables or the bottom tables. I'm talking some of the best players on the planet in 40K. I can't really go on the AOS side of it. Are just as guilty as some of these things. I've watched a stream and went, because I'm curious. I'll see a list of somebody's, and I'm primarily a Tyranid and G-Solar Cult player. I'll see the list and I'll go, how does this person win all these games? Right? So then they'll live stream it, and I watch and I go, oh, because they're cheating. That's out.
I don't want to, like, I would watch a few streams and they would literally do something wrong on their stream. And I'm like, you guys are doing this wrong. And then no one, well, they were streaming that event.
Right. Well, here's what I do. This is very hard leaving names out of it. Just want you to know that. So I'm watching a particular game. A friend of mine is a friend with one of the people playing. A stratagem and used incorrectly, which is a big deal. Oh, it's not that serious. Yes, it is. If it's just a game, then stop cheating. If it's just a game. So I text the friend of the friend, said, hey, make sure that Billy reads that stratagem next time because he's using it wrong. And sure enough, he read it next time and he was using it wrong. And guess what? Now he can't use it wrong anymore and he lost his next game. Coincidence? You crush everybody, and then all of a sudden you get up to the higher table and you're not allowed to not do something. Certain things have to be met for the stratagem to work. Only half of those things were being met. Oh, well, it was just a mistake I made. I said, you've played like 30 games with this army. Is that the mistake you make every game?
Yeah. Well,
how much of your 20-5 record is tainted because you're playing this wrong? Oh, well, I just made a mistake. It's the first line of the stratagem.
I know what you're talking about.
Do not read it. And the person found out it was me that reported it and questioned me on it. I said, because you did it wrong. What do you mean? Oh, well, it wasn't that big a deal. I said, it's a huge deal. If you're talking about a game that people travel to go to and you're playing something incorrectly, I won't say cheating, you're playing something incorrectly, but you're one of the best players on the planet, you would think you'd play it right.
You would think, yes.
And that's why I always go, and this has happened numerous times in games. Oh, well, I'm going to use this stratagem. I said, can I read that stratagem, please? Seriously? Yes, seriously. So we'll go through and then dig it out. And as soon as that question is said that way back to me, I know that stratagem is being used incorrectly. As soon as you really want me to get that so you can read it? Yeah, that's why I fucking asked.
They're not asking because they're capitulating with your curiosity. They're scared shitless that they're going to be found out.
So I bring it out and I go, so this stratagem that you're using in the shooting phase can only be used once per game in the movement phase.
Oops.
Oh, well, I must have misread it. The whole card? The whole thing. Those are the things.
But you already used it once. I made it up myself. This is actually not the right card. I made one for myself.
That immediately makes me want to go to his previous opponent and go, hey, how many times did Joey use this stratagem in your game? Oh, well, every turn. Well, it can only be used once per game and in the shooting phase. So read them. So what I've started to do, I used to buy every codex because I became the librarian to read it so I wouldn't get screwed on anybody's rules. Right? And I've learned that.
I still do that.
Well, it's an effort in futility. There's just too much. So now what I'm going to do is sell those said codexes and go buy the little boxes that has the stratagems in them, the cards, and bring all of them with me and look across the table and go, oh, I'm playing against Imperial Knights. Here's my Imperial Knight stratagems. I'm going to use this. You can't. Why? Well, because you can't. It says it right here on the card that you can't use this particular time. And everybody's listening will be like, oh, he's over exaggerating. No, I'm not.
Hey, $15 is cheaper than $40.
Well, no, I'm about people not reading their rules. I was at.
No, I kind of completely understand where Gary's going with this. I mean, it's funny. What I'm imagining right now is you're going to do that. You're going to have your stratagems, all the different army stratagems, and they're going to turn it around on you. You're going to be the rules Nazi. You're going to be this guy, and it's almost like rather than accept their own visceral behavior, they're going to try to turn it around on you. I can already see it happening.
He had all of my cards over there, and he read every one that I used.
How dare he read to make sure so he can learn my rules? How dare he?
Guess
Or
what else
she.
I read? I
You
read
just wait.
my book.
You just wait till I find out that I've got your wife's phone number.
That's right. Was that me? She only
No,
calls me. That might be why. So we've discussed this and linked already. So.
sorry,
No,
wrong stratagem.
so But you know what else I do? I read my book. I know my cards, and
How
I
dare
also
you know your army?
I go, hey, I'm going to use this stratagem. Do you want to read the card? And at first they're like, no. And then I do it. It's called overrun. And immediately after I do it, they're like, can I read that card? There you go. Everybody wants to read it because it's pretty good. You know,
That's the one that allows you to attack again, right?
well, no,
Or move.
overrun. This is, I'll get it real quickly. It's played wrong so many times. Overrun says after you have finished combat with a Tyranid infantry unit or a Tyranid unit, if you killed a unit and you have no enemy models within 3 inches, right? Those are the two stipulations. You killed a unit, no enemy models within 3 inches. Typically, after that, you consolidate, which is a 3-inch move.
Right.
Overrun lets me move in advance as if it was a movement phase instead of consolidating if those two items are met.
Okay, and you just play it in the. So basically, that's in the command. You can play on any turn, essentially, too.
Right at the end of it, at a fight phase. Whenever I go to consolidate, I would play that card instead, as long as those things were met. Here's why that's a big deal. Because if I have 20 Gene Stealers, I assault you, I kill that entire unit, nobody's in 3 inches. I spend this, I can now move 8 inches, which is their normal move, and then advance D6. Kraken, which everybody uses, when they advance, they roll 3d6 and pick the highest. So I'm going to move 13 inches after combat, either to another unit and then use fight again and kill another unit, or I'm going to run back into cover or terrain so you can't shoot me. That's a huge deal. If you use that stratagem and you go, oh, I killed a unit, so I'm going to overrun. No, because you're now you're within 3 inches of somebody. The reason why it's a big deal is because now you only get to move 3 inches. They get to fight you, they get to shoot you, they get to do all kinds of things. If I can run 13 inches away, it's much more tactically to my advantage. But you have to kill an entire unit, you have to be 3 inches away. I played it wrong in game 4 at ATC, thought that all I had to do was be 3 inches away, read the stratagem and went, I can't do that because I had to kill the unit, and I lost that game. It's the only one I lost at ATC was that game because I played that stratagem wrong. The person I was playing against didn't ask to read it. He didn't say I was doing it wrong. I did it of my own accord to make sure I was doing it right. Now,
Well, I mean that's what separates you from the toxic jackasses.
well, what my question is what bothers me are the top players and the people that win constantly buffaloing their first 3 to 4 opponents because they're garage players and they know the person's name and they're just happy to be playing against that level of person. They don't question any antics that they do, and they get steamrolled not only because the player's better, but also because they're manipulating the rules into their favor.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, I would say probably 8/10 out of the time that's happening.
The scariest round for me at Adepticon is going to be round 1. When I go up against that mad scientist that's been brewing that stuff in his basement for a year and has only played against his buddies every day and not came out, and I look across the table and I go, what the hell army is that? And I don't know what I'm getting into. It's similar to like the first 2 rounds of Magic, trying to get past the jank decks to get to the meta that you're used to playing against.
Right.
I look across the table and I see Yanari. I'm like, okay, I'm good. If I see Guard and a Castellan, all right, I'm good. I know what to expect. If I look across there and I see a battalion of Black Templars, a battalion of Space Wolves, and then 5 assassins, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. You know,
right.
If you don't adjust, and he knows his army, that's the scary part. Because if you don't adjust by turn 4 or 5, you might lose round 1. You know, so a lot of times people will bend things into their own rules, which is a toxic. Jerks don't let them do that. There's 2 ways to make things like this go away. Stop talking about it, everybody, and those people that do it eventually just fade away. Or confront him about it and say, let's go talk to the person you're talking about. I know him. He's right over here. I prefer option 2. Just saying. Because I think
Well,
that's better.
I think toxic jackasses are going to be out there, man. And we could kind of rumble on this topic. Gary, good stuff as usual, man. I mean,
we know our topic for next week.
I got one thing to close it out with real quick.
Do it.
My topic. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there was a kid. His name was Brand. He passed away when he was like 13 years old, right around that age. I have the age wrong. And they started a Facebook page for him because he was loved 40K and he loved Space Wolves. The name of it's a closed group. The name of the Facebook page is called Brand's Great Company, right? And he had cancer, and we sent stuff to him. There was a guy who showed up in an Iron Warriors full-blown suit, all kinds of stuff that would happen. And when the Space Wolf Codex come out, they put him in the Codex called Brand Saberwolf and gave him his own
company,
right? And now, the Gene Stealer Cult book, right? I'm gonna read this real quick. It said, and the kid's name was Brand. GW called him Brand Saberwolf, right? It says, one veteran of the Phoenician force upon Vigilus, Brand Saberwolf, fights his way back out, waging a one-man war against the underground Xenos worshippers that culminates in Brand slaying the Gene Stealer Sect Primus in a bloody duel. When the Astra Militarum finally reclaims the area, Brand is found wounded and out of ammunition but alive. Upon his recovery, his knowledge of the tunnels proves invaluable in the wars to come. That's what we need to be like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's what we need to be like. This is something we play for fun. It's something that we play seriously. It's something we play because we love to build, socialize, paint, hobby, the lore, all of that. How can the message from this kid and what everybody has done, that's the stuff we need to be doing. It's above us. If we make it
I agree.
more than what we are, it's better for everybody. And yes, may the best person win, by all means. I'm all for it. But win with the means that you're given, not with the means that you create.
Great ending, man. That was good stuff, man. I know that's going to be that's a hard thing to beat right there, bud. That's Gary. That was a good one, man.
So that's my thought that's on it. So I didn't play it with my kids because I love the game that much. I played it because I love my kids that much, and I wanted it to be with them. But they like Magic now, so I'm pretty much tabletop dead to them on those.
Well, that happens, man. I've heard those stories, man. But hey, don't forget to check out our website at grimdarklive.com. Gary, good stuff, man. I'm rolling right on with the show, and I'm not giving it much consideration, but that was pretty damn good. But folks, don't forget to check out our website at grimdarklive.com, our Facebook page of Grimdark Live. While you're on our website, you can pick up one of our T-shirts, dice, or become a patron. Grimdark can even paint your models for you. We even have a painting service. We can't play them for you. You lose every game, but we can paint them, make them look pretty. You can gain immediate access to our past shows, Take One videos. And speaking of those Take One videos from Grimdark Live, this is a special series of ours. Make sure you watch for those videos. These are our extra webcasts for all things Warhammer 40K and Age of Sigmar, and topics range from bat raps, special interviews, tutorials, and even some live gameplay. And you can also get Grimdark Live on Twitter at NobblerG and Twitch TV as well. And by the way, I don't know if you guys saw it up here, but Grimdark Live actually has their own dice. And we actually have a guarantee with this dice. It's the Gary Frank guarantee. And with these dice, you're guaranteed to roll a 6 on every 6th roll on the 6th day of the 6th game against the 6th opponent. That is the Gary Frank guarantee. And he also personally blesses every pack of dice that are sold. So get yourself your Grimdark,
by the way. So
Grimdark dice with your very own Gary Frank guarantee from Grimdark Live. So all right, man, we'll roll on. So we're gonna get right on going. But normally at this stage of the show, and I know we're running a little bit late, but I hope for everyone's sake you're enjoying the show. And in August, thanks for hanging with us, man. This is a hell of a roller coaster ride, huh?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying listening to it and glad to be a part.
and at this point, normally, we start leading into a topic. Generally, we talk about things that Randy has to say. But as you well know, if you've been just joining us here at the top of the show, Randy was in a severe accident at his normal job, and we understand that he's now recovering. But we just want to say that we are very happy that you did not fare the same fate as poor little Mr. Giggleberries. So
Will you stop?
please let us know if there's anything we can do for you, Randy. If you need new pumps or stiletto heels or anything like that, we'd be more than happy to.
He's
help you
fine.
with
He
that.
was posting in YouTube.
So you don't have to defend the situation. This is an open forum here, Sean. We all understand. He's a hell of a dancer, by the way.
Randy, he's
so
insane.
So moving on.
I
Moving
hope
on. So
you play him Saturday and just curb stomp Pat with all your spooky little ghosts.
Moving on. So here it is, right here. We've got at this point in the show, we come across the rumor engine, and August, you're familiar with this, right? Where we actually get it wrong every single show. Are you familiar with the rumor engine?
Oh yeah, you guys are 100% wrong.
No,
Yeah.
we're actually going to turn this shit around. We're turning this franchise around. I'm telling
Next
you.
show. So I don't even know where to begin with that thing. August, what is that, man?
Kind of looks like some kind of maybe like a pump or something. Maybe like a hard to say.
Yeah,
exactly.
you've got some kind of a screw or threaded rod here, some kind of a lock nut there, going into Gary, what is that, man?
That is a knee replacement for Randy. Or he needs one of those now. No,
I'm sure. I mean, look at him. Look at him all laid up there.
See, that right knee looks pretty lame.
It does look a little swollen there. That stage, all that whipped cream and glitter. It's just unbelievable. Anyway,
you are foul. You are
that whole body is swollen. I mean, come on.
In the background on the bottom right, where it has the little gene stealer person, there is a piece of terrain that comes, which is like a subterranean drill. I believe this is the arm at the top that's holding the drill.
Okay. All right, Steve.
Or I could go with the lame route and say it's a lever of some type. So.
Okay, Steve. What say you, man?
I don't know. It looks like something 40K.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It looks like something, mechanical. So I would.
So says the 40K, the fantasy guy. Gotcha. Sean?
I'm going to kind of agree with Gary on this one. I'm going to go with it's going to be probably a piece of terrain that will be used in the kilting box for probably cult, Gene Stealer cult.
Okay. Could
like
be
a drill or like a pump or something like that.
All right. Well, that was
maybe a crane.
That was definitely one of the harder rumor engines, man. So it was a tough one. But yeah, we're winding the show down, and as we start to wind the show down, we have today's question of the day, and which is brought to you by GameStorm Games. They're a LAN gaming center, card shop, computer, Xbox 360 repair center. They hold video game and Magic the Gathering tournaments as well as tabletop games of all sorts. You can visit them at 1243 State Street, Suite 107, Lamont, Illinois 60439, or get them at GameStormGaming.com. So here it is. August, and we're actually going to give you a shot at this one too there, Steve. August, we got a question of the day. We're going to throw it at you first here, bud. So here it is. What was the most difficult rule or concept to learn for pick one, either Age of Sigmar or 40K that you can recall?
So for mine, I'm actually going to be applying it to both systems, both 40K and Sigmar.
Got it. Okay.
It's the concept that things are not meant to be very tanky. Things are meant to die quickly, because I think that gives you a certain level of like satisfaction when you're able to kill things. Going back to 6th and 7th edition of 40K specifically, it was a very slow game. It was, even killing a single guy was difficult, whereas now you can wipe out whole squads very quickly. So I think it was really hard for me to understand, why is my tank not lasting long, or why is my bloodthirster only have a 4-up armor save? It's because they want you to kill things very quickly.
I like it. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Steve, what say you, man?
I would say breaking the mindset of the turn sequence, because in the past we would always do movement magic, and now we have to do, the magic first and then the movement. And so a lot of the times in the old days, your strategies would be based on that movement magic. And it just, I don't know. When I first started playing AOS, it was kind of hard to break out of that cycle.
Gotcha. All right, good. Well, good answers, guys. Thank you so much. And as we continue moving on and winding down the show, we're going to start talking about some upcoming tournaments. And with all the tournament activity out there, we couldn't think of any other way to announce any tournaments without mentioning the great Grimdark Live partner and Frag Factory 3D Printing. I mean, what's a game or tournament without terrain? So Frag Factory 3D printing life into your games. You can visit them at their Facebook page at Frag Factory 3D Printing. They actually, guys, they've got some great stuff. You've seen some stuff on our tables where we're getting our stuff painted up right now for some bat wraps that are going to be definitely happening here soon. So, and speaking of which, also speaking of tournaments, Grognard Games is a proud partner of our annual Armed Forces Day tournament held every Armed Forces Day in May. The 2019 tournament will be Saturday, May 18th on Armed Forces Day, where 100% of the proceeds goes towards the USO in support of our active duty troops. So please join us for a great tournament, Armed Forces Day 2019, to support our active duty troops. And we will have a location by our next live show. I've got some things we're going to be working on there. So good stuff to come for Armed Forces Day. So, but now we've got some tournaments coming up, gang. So that we really should mention. We've got obviously February 9th through the 10th. We got LodgeCon, and we've got Gary's Broken Heart. We got LVO. That's February 7th through the 10th. Holy Wars, February 22nd to the 24th. Adepticon, the Beast. That's the March 27th through the 31st. And we've got the D8 Summit Charity Convention in Utica, Illinois. That's going to be happening May 3rd through the 5th. Gang, what did I miss? August, Steve, anyone? What did I miss out there? Any other tournaments you guys know of?
No.
LodgeCon Saturday.
Yeah, LodgeCon.
LodgeCon, I mentioned that one.
Yep. I talked to our friend Kyle, and he said that he's getting some guys to come down from Wisconsin. So it looks like Greg's going to have a pretty nice turnout down there.
Oh, that's good. Awesome. Good deal.
There's 2 next weekend.
Okay.
One at Everything Games on Sunday, which is Adepticon Primer, and one at Catalyst Games, which is out in by Rockford. So
nice. That's actually pretty cool.
I do have something to add that in the Orland store on February 23rd, they are going to be having a birthday mega battle for 40K. The rules are pretty simple. It's not necessary to have a painted army, but have a 1,000-point army, 1 detachment, and be ready for a 10v10 super battle on the 23rd.
Nice.
Oh,
that's
and to backtrack a little bit, since you didn't ask me the rule, I had the toughest time with learning.
Okay, go ahead.
Is how you can collect an army and not play with them. I've never seen that.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, Jesus. Again?
Wow.
Actually, it's figuring out the assault phase in 8th edition whenever you play the Horde army. It's fairly
Man, these guys just like to sandbag you all game, don't they?
August, it's just a violent beating every freaking show. I mean, honestly,
All
I
you
don't
have to do is play.
It's unbelievable. Okay. So, but I'll tell you what, speaking of violent beatings, how'd you like to test out your army or skills against one of the Grimdark gang in a 1v1 game of AOS or 40K? How about someone out there you've got a grudge match against? Well, bring it. Grimdark Live is now hosting war meets at participating stores, bat wraps at our studio locations, and we now have Grimdark grudge matches. Grimdark grudge matches are where you can take on an opponent of your choice, and the fight is streamed for the world to see. So go to grimdarklive.com for more on taking part of a bat wrap or a grudge match against one or more of the foes that you definitely want to face. So here it is, gang. Final home stretch where we ran a little bit long, but this was a good show today, man. This was definitely fun. So we're coming to the end of the show, and as we come to the close of today's show, I guess I'd like to ask if there's any closing thoughts from our guests and co-hosts today. So, August, I'll come to you first, buddy. Closing thoughts.
I think it's a very good time to be Age of Sigmar player. I'm just starting to get back into the thing, so definitely interesting to see all the new armies and all the new, all the excitement coming around the game.
Nice. I like it. Steve.
Get out to LodgeCon this weekend. Great AOS tournament planned. Lots of guys are coming. Lots of great guys. We got, I think Brendan's coming down from the Wisconsin crew. So get
Yeah,
out
he
to
said he was going
LodgeCon.
to Facebook.
Yeah, get out to LodgeCon and support the community.
Very cool. Good deal, man. Good deal. Gary.
Be something greater than you think you can be.
I like it, man. I like it. Sean?
For those people who think if you get rid of composite scores, you get rid of the hobby scores and the hobby awards, you can have more hobby awards. You can make it 2 tournaments in one, where you can take the hobby scores and make that and have more awards based on the hobbyers, the people who go for the hobby.
Right.
But
good point, Sean.
So
yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. You know, it's funny. As I kind of waited to kind of talk about my closing point, which is kind of venomous here. I listened to all you guys with such positive messages, and I'm a little reluctant now to kind of charge ahead and with what I have. But
if it's what I think you're going to say, then don't say it.
Well, no. Did Randy recover well, buddy? No, it's it's one of those things that
we apologize.
That it's a social contract. You know, you hear us talk about it here on Grimdark Live all the time, and it's we have that commitment to our fellow gamers, and moreover to the people. That's when we talk about gamers. That's not an inanimate object. We're talking about the people there, and I guess if I can just kind of pontificate here for a second, since we've already burned the clock completely off the wall. You know, it's funny. You know, Facebook, it's a weird thing. You know, we here on Grimdark Live only ever use it really to promote our show, tournaments, the community, and then this hobby. In other words, we're trying to network. And I always thought that was what Facebook was for, social networking. But somewhere along the line, this thing morphed into a big, messy debate club. We started arguing about everything. You know, sometimes I think we vote for things just to piss each other off. You know, check this out. I guess, you know, before I ramble on, here it is. True story. A few days ago, a guy that, you know, since we're not using names, I'm not going to use any names. I know he's listening, but a few days ago, a guy that has been on the show recently, a great community guy behind a great upcoming event, had posted his thoughts on the State of the Union that was given by our president. Now, listen, I know this has nothing to do with gamers, but these were gamers that were chiming in, and a lot of times, you know, they have similar comments about the game. So now this friend of ours couldn't have been more of a gentleman about his comments regarding the State of the Union speech, but ended his opinion with a statement that said, and I'm actually reading it off of his Facebook post. Among my friends, no judgment or hatred. What did the president say that you agreed with? And I thought, wow, that was really, really classy the way that he actually put that down. At any rate, I gave my thoughts, and neither I'm not either a Republican nor a Democrat. I thought the State of the Union speech was great, to be honest. So lo and behold, this guy comes on and basically states that we're all wrong, and basically his sentiment was we're a bunch of losers for giving any credence to the president's address at all. And, you know, it kind of made me go back and reflect a little bit on some of the stuff you hear in the community. Then another guy chimed in and blamed the Trump for his poor performing 401k plan, and another guy, you know, chimed in sarcastically and said they appreciated the president's acknowledgement of, you know, racial disparities in prisons. And another person also sneered about a comment that at least he acknowledged women in the workforce. All these kind of underhanded comments, and all the while our buddy, this good friend of Grimdark Live, kept repeating, you know, and I'm reading it again here, friends, I very clearly asked for no judgment or hatred, but it was just one after the other. These little titty twister comments, these visceral shitbags, just, you know, getting their moment in the limelight. I mean, what I thought was really amazing here was these so-called friends were actually trying to prevent a friendly conversation. Now, I suppose with a platform like Facebook, we could just unfriend those types of people. And I'm sure that some of them would wonder why. I mean, I had to laugh at one point when one of the guys chiming in with a crappy comment had the nerve to say, I wasn't trying to be inconsiderate or being hateful. I guess I'll just show myself out now. When that's all the guy was doing the entire time. You know, what do you mean not trying? But at any rate, you know, why is my closing thought on this show today? You ask this crappy topic, and why the frick did I make it about politics? Look, I'm not sure at what point we decided, you know, as a nation to use a platform like Facebook to have this never-ending squabble. I don't know how we thought that sounded like fun. I think that humans are naturally cooperative and naturally warlike. We need to live peacefully in our own tribe, and then eventually get together every now and again to kill some other tribe if we have to. That's life on Earth. That's why we need social skills. You hear us on Grimdark Live talk about the social contract. We have allies. The reason why we have the social skills is so we have those allies when the shit hits the fan. Facebook is constantly short-circuiting our social skills. You post, and I believe that bleeds over into when we're standing face-to-face with somebody, even some of the topics we talked about here tonight. You post a few thoughts to your online pals, and some isolated jackass rips you a new one because he has a bad day and you popped up on his newsfeed. So now you're under attack. This isn't going to bring out the best in you. Do we really believe that these keyboard warriors would ever say these things they write to somebody's face? No, never. But we see this very behavior every day in this hobby, in this community, right? I mean, we do. A lot of passive-aggressive bullshit from self-entitled finger sniffers who are just mean little fuckers. A bunch of short pants, if you will. Now, don't worry, guys. I'm not going into another short pants story. But I think as a community, we have to understand that the social contract doesn't just start and stop at the table where the dice, bounce all over the place. The social contract also extends to the people that you know from this community. And the reason why I guess I hedged so much on the political end of it, and I don't like to do that, was because the people that we were talking to were fellow gamers. These are our friends. We're gamers. So our friends and our associates, the people that we deal with, for the most part, are gamers. So whether we're talking about Sanguinius, or whether we're talking about, Skaven, or whether we're talking about some guy that, screws you over at a tournament because of a stratagem, or a State of the Union speech by our president, it's all relative, because you're going to carry those attitudes and those comments with you when you do see those people in person. And I think when we hear Grimdark Live talk about the social contract and how we conduct ourselves and what we look for in each other, I think it extends to those broad spectrum things, even if they're outliers to why we're all here, and that's to throw dice. So my closing statement is, I think as we get in this competitive tournament scene, we're forgetting about the social contract. And let's all remember that and embrace that. That's it. Too long-winded, guys. Sorry about that. Everyone still awake?
No.
Can you
wait? Yay! Clap! Right? Clap. He's done.
No. All right. Thank you very little. So that's it, guys. Another great show. Sean, Gary, and Randy out there on that stretcher. Poor little guy.
Would you stop?
I'd like to thank both of our guests, August and Steve, and all of our listeners for another great show. And we look forward to having you back next time. We discuss all things related to dice, dragons, demons, and dwarves in the Warhammer world. So please don't forget to join us next Thursday at 7:30. So until we meet again, remember, don't be a short pants. Let's all embrace the main message here from Grimdark Live, and that's a social contract we have between gamers and the commitment we have to this community. We're only as good as our last game. And as always, please don't forget to give our channel a like or subscribe if you haven't already done so. So with that, may the dice gods bless you and your sweaty palms. Bye.
Grimdark Live would like to thank you for slumming it through another show with us for all things dice, dragons, demons, and a dwarf in the Age of Sigmar worlds. We'll be back live next Thursday, so until then, remember, roll them dice fun and fair, and don't be a frickin' short pants. And if you missed the live show, you can catch us again right here on the next Grimdark Live podcast. Never fear, gang. There'll be more great content from Grimdark Live throughout the week, with Monster Mondays, Table War Tuesdays, Warhammer Wednesdays, Grimdark Grudge matches, and a ton more. So stay tuned and stay grim, all you dice chucking, glue sniffing gamer goons. You're all awesome.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
Remember, embrace the main message here from Grimdark Live, and that's a social contract we have between gamers and the commitment we have to each other and this community. We're only as good as our last game. Check us out at grimdarklive.com. Don't forget to give our channel a like or subscribe if you haven't already done so. So long, Grimdark Goons. Until next time, may the dice gods bless you and your sweaty palms. Bye.
Hey, who you calling a short pants?